Bad Smile, for example, the French team, they were just 3 points away from getting into that second spot, and just not making it means that they're sort of, you could say, the top team into the plan. Does that weigh out a little bit stronger that we're coming into this, we're a really strong team, we almost made the finals? Or is it the other way, saying, damn, like, we were so close to making it?
I think these guys are full of confidence, and they're young. They have loads of energy. They're really good at the
Yeah.
game. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, that these guys aren't joking around when they play these games. We're surprised at the skill they can play a game like this, or sort of any games to this sort of level where they have the amount of control over their guns, the aim, the sort of movement as well. So I think they'll come into this really really hard and really just try their best to be able to smash down a couple of these other teams. I think they will have a bit of a secret want to get some revenge on some of the other teams that might have dragged them down and stopped them from being able to go straight to the grand final, which is ultimately like makes it a lot easier. But now they just have a chance to be able to prove that, one, they make it through these play-ins, they get to the grand finals, and if they can do that, then they definitely will have the confidence and also the motivation and just the, I don't know how to say, like the steam to keep going through and potentially smash down a team like Vastamundo, who by far I think have been one of the top scoring teams across any region.
And I think one thing that I'm really going to be having a look at is some of the players individually, is maybe some of the more older and experienced players, because one player in particular that everyone seems to be talking about at the moment is Blazer 10, this 14-year-old kid that's just wrecking it. But the thing is, right, when you get into a big event like this, when there's so much money on the line, I almost feel like sometimes the younger kids can sometimes struggle under the pressure if things aren't quite going their way. So certainly a team like Luis Santos, who has some more experienced players, 18, 19 years old, I'll kind of be looking at them in this sort of a situation and being like, okay, are we going to see a bit more of like that experience coming out and trying to control some of the youngsters?
I think it can really go to either side, because obviously at that sort of age of sort of 18, 19, 20, there's a lot more life distractions compared to when you're 14. You're a little bit of
that's true.
careless, where it's like, okay, this is cool, I'm gonna win this, and I don't really have to worry about too much else. I've got some school going on, but otherwise, like, it's not like, okay, do I go to college? What job do I get? There's not really that sort of distractions. When we sort of take age into consideration, I think these guys have sort of proved that, okay, the outside distractions aren't coming in. I think the same thing can be said for Los Tanos. It is going to be interesting to see who does come out on top, and if Blazer does, I know that he's going to be going around rubbing it in people's faces in a nice way and sort of saying GG, well played, but at the same time saying, yeah, I got you. My grenade launcher was successful, which he loves using. You know.
And another thing as well, I mean, we've sort of touched on the European teams and sort of seen where they were coming out in the qualifier. Having a look at least for CHR, right, coming out of CIS, we saw them being a pretty top contender, placing third in that qualifier, just missing out again. It seems to be a bit of a repeat, right, when we saw in the qualifiers that there weren't just one or two teams that were so far ahead. We have seen some really close competition. So once all those regions come together, and we've got 12 teams from 3 different regions, I think, yeah, we can maybe say, oh, favorites here of Bad Smile and maybe for CHR in their respective regions. But all it comes down to is a couple of games where one team popping off, getting a huge amount of kills, getting a really high placing, and the whole structure of the rankings can just completely change.
Yeah, all it takes is these first 3 games to go through. I think we're going to be seeing the first 3 maps, as obviously the intro video said. We've got Bermuda, Purgatory, and then Kalahari, all really well designed maps, really well playable. I think we're going to be seeing the first 3 maps taking out a bit of a leisurely stroll from a couple of teams, and as we go into the last half of today, we're going to be seeing some really heavy pressure from some of these teams like Bad Smile and obviously CHR, like you sort of mentioned, these top teams who were so close to get in, and they're going to be so hungry.
Yeah.
And if they're anywhere near the top, if they've got any kind of lead, I guarantee that they're going to do some aggressive play styles, because it's exactly what other top teams have done, like Rustamundo did. As soon as they realized that they were going to go through no matter what, no one could take that away from them from the grand finals and the Premier League, they just started playing aggressive and they didn't care. Or they did care, they just wanted to make sure they could stop other teams from getting kills. And I think that will be some of the point denial we see from a team like Bad Smile, that they might hot drop, say, Luis Tanos and stop them from being able to get up on the ranking, or they might take on CHR as well and try and have some EMEA sort of camaraderie and help their teammates out.
And I think we can certainly have a couple of dark horses, right? You've got to have expectations going into an event like this. You've obviously always got your favorite teams, then you've kind of got your stragglers towards the end there. And certainly for teams like Triple Two Elite, Rebirth, and Black Flag, who just came in towards the back end of qualification, for them, right, this is a perfect opportunity to maybe do a little bit of anti-stratting on your teams, maybe change something up, because you've got to think for these teams, they'll be looking at the past weeks, they'll be looking at the play styles and being like, right, this is how they play. They play aggressive, they play passive, they look for early gunfights, and maybe coming into an event like this that does have a lot of high pressure, there's only a 1 day, you've got 6 games, this could be a chance for maybe some of the maybe not the lesser teams, but the not as strong teams to be able to come out with maybe a new attitude and maybe some new game plans.
It's all to play for, and like I said, I think these first 3 games should be calm, but I would like to be completely wrong on that. Obviously, at the end of each game, it's going to go absolutely chaotic, like it does every single game, and it's always fun. But I think, yeah, some of these lesser teams who, if they've done their time and they've done the research into these different teams, and they're like, okay, Bad Smell like to drop these locations. If they can't drop that location, they go to X, Y, or Z. How do we anti-strat that? How do we make sure we cut them off? If they've got to rotate into the circle and say Black Flag know that their sort of rotation pattern is sort of crossing over X bridge or using certain positions, they could do their best to just out position and stop them from being able to get in the circle. And that is completely possible. We have seen that a couple of times, and now we have more footage, like the whole Premier League's out there, and some other tournaments from earlier on in the year, where there's now more of a history for each one of these teams, for the opposition teams to be able to go through, do their research, take notes. And obviously some of these teams have coaches, so the teams that have coaches, I think, have a big advantage on there. If you don't have a coach, do your best to get one, even if it's just your dad coming in and giving some pointers, or even your mum, whatever, or your gran. Hey, and anyone can help on that front. So yeah.
I suppose as well, right? Like when we looked at the Premier League, there was only 4 games per broadcast, where now we're coming into this with 6 games. So all 3 maps, your Bermuda, your Purgatory, and even Kalahari, are being played twice. So that could maybe make things interesting, that we might see a team more favored to a certain map. But then going into it the second time, it might be a little bit different. And I wonder who that pays more strengths to, of playing all 6 or all 3 maps twice in a single day.
The teams that have better endurance and the ability to adapt to the situations, because it could be that you every single time you go to drop, another team is dropping with you. You need to be able to make sure you move away from that and adapt, and say the second time you play Purgatory, change up your drop strat and make sure you have an exit strategy. If you do drop somewhere and someone else lands on you, do your best to either kill them straight away if you have guns and they're just landing, or you just need to get out of dodge and really just drive for the hills. And I mean, obviously, you sort of mentioned the 4 games. So that was during the Premier League. During the grand finals, there was a 6 games. So they have had this sort of amount of games in 1 day. And like, these are back-to-back games. It's going to be high pressure. I mean, there's 80K for first place on a line for next week. And overall, 300,000. Like, that is not pocket money. That is big, big money.
It's life-changing. It really is. I mean, if I was a player in that kind of situation, I think my hands would be shaking. But look, that's what you're playing for. You're playing for the big prize, and endurance is sometimes one of the biggest elements. Yeah, you could be absolutely smashing your competition in game 1 and game 2, but when you've got 6 to play for, the pressure of maybe knowing you're on top, the pressure of knowing how much money you're playing for, this could be a career path just overnight. As soon as you get a big victory, as soon as you're able to win a big tournament like this, get some prize money behind you, it changes immediately.
Yeah, life-changing money on that front. You're able to realize, okay, we can get picked up by a fairly decent org, and that's really the direction I see Free Fire going in at the moment. Obviously, they're sort of going in for sort of the second year. This is like the end of the second year that they've really been trying to do Free Fire esports. And coming into it, I mean, obviously I've only been doing it for the last like couple of months, and it's been really exciting to see it unfold, talking to Garena and a couple of the other broadcasters about the future and potential of this game. And like, this is really the turning point. Whoever comes out on top of this is going to have a solid place in the history of this game, and especially for being able to get picked up onto signed organizations with a salary and getting that sort of paycheck. So it's really sort of securing that future, and I think that's going to be more of a big push for the older players as well, like Lewis Tanos. I mean, for them, they're going to be able to sign up with these orgs properly when they're sort of 16 to 18. The 14-year-olds like Blazer, it's going to be fairly more interesting to see how that works around and sort of long term. How is that going to play out for him with his sort of education and how that sort of proceeds? So there's a lot of factors that I think is going to come into this for these players as they go through this. If they see success, if they don't, what are they going to do? Are they going to come back for sort of next year's competitions? Are they going to have the same lineup? I mean, Vostamundo, if they carry on like they are, I mean, there's no reason to change anything, and they have already got 2 stand-ins and a coach. They're probably one of the most set up teams to be able to win this overall.
Yeah, look, absolutely, and those are some of the things that I suppose we'll have to sort of have a look at, because we do have a video coming up very, very soon. It will be the play-ins opening, but we're going to head over to a short little break, so do not go anywhere. We've got plenty of content just after this.
Hi, survivors. We know that some of you have been looking forward to our Free Fire World Series. However, the COVID-19 situation makes it difficult to stick to our original plans. To keep our players safe, we will be replacing the World Series with the Free Fire Continental Series, which will be held between the 21st of November to the 29th of November. Join us from the safety of your home as we celebrate the 2nd year of Free Fire esports with Free Fire Continental Series, which is our biggest Free Fire online tournament yet. The FFCS will be conducted as 3 simultaneous tournaments over the same period of time. They are the Americas Series, EMEA Series, and the Asia Series. The winner of each series will be recognized as the champion of their continent with in-game memorabilia. Each series will also feature a standalone prize pool of $300,000 US. There will be a total of 18 teams participating in the EMEA Series. These teams will come from the regions of Europe, Russia, and the MENA region. The top 2 seeds from each region will be seeded directly to the final, while 3rd to 6th seeds will play against each other in the play-in stage on November 21st. The top 6 teams will advance to the grand final on November 28th. During both stages of the series, the teams will compete on our 3 Battle Royale maps. The map order will be Bermuda, Purgatory, and finally Kalahari. The teams will then repeat the map cycle one more time for a total of 6 maps played. You can also find out more about the Free Fire Continental Series on our official channels. Make sure to subscribe so you can pick up on all the latest FFCS news. Join us this November to witness the rise of 3 new Continental champions. Booyah!
Oh, welcome back. I'll tell you what, Tom, after looking at that video, mate, I wish I was a player. That just, it looks all exciting. I'm getting excited myself.
Oh yeah, just imagine what the physical trophy would actually look like if we didn't have to deal with COVID at the moment. But I mean, next year, hopefully, we'll see some of these physical lands come up, and it's going to be so exciting. It's such a big event. I mean, right now, like, this broadcast we're taking part in is like one of many that's going on, and I know we're obviously on like sort of YouTube and Facebook, and there's thousands of people watching right now, and I hope you will have a really good time and watch this, because there's a $300,000 prize pool, Drake. I don't think I can quite realize just like a mass amount of money that is, and it's per region. 900k total across the world. Like, that's nuts.
And that's the thing, right? Is you look at the prize pool and you're like 300,000, like you almost get blown away already. But then it's like, no, we've got a couple more regions coming. 900,000 USD across 3 regions, and it all starts with the grassroots. It all starts with the qualifiers, moving into the play-ins, moving into the finals. And look, there's a lot of money up for grabs. There's a lot of action up for grabs. But like for Tom, it's so amazing to think about how much support is coming in.
Yeah, I mean, these are regions that already have a sort of thriving esports community around other games. And then bringing Free Fire in here, which already has like a big base of players and sort of fans around esports, it's really just going to cement this game as like, okay, this is an esport. people care about this. There's viewers, there's money, there's players who are really skilled at this game. It's not the fact that it's just a skillless game. You have to be good at this game to do it. There's no pay to win or anything. You really just have to be good at the game, and we see that from some of these top teams. We've obviously got Fostermundo and Ermidadi. They're the two top teams from this whole region, and they're already through it into the grand finals for next week. We're now trying to fight and see these teams fight out rather for their place into the next section. And I mean, is there any of the sort of teams that you'd expect to go through? Do you think that third place teams that didn't quite make it into the direct invite, do you think they'll make it?
I'd like to think that Bad Smile and at least CHR should be a heavy favourites to go through, only because they looked so dominant in their respected qualifiers and were not so far away, but actually so close for making that final spot. So you've got to think for them, they've got to be favourites going into this. Whether it's going to be a stroll, that's another thing, because for the European teams, for example, they might only be practicing against the European teams and playing in your European events, where now you're throwing in other regions. Maybe they haven't seen as much from them, or maybe they haven't had an opportunity to play as much. And as well, when you think of Free Fire as a game, 80 million active users, but yet we're down here to only 12 teams in the play-in. So we really are just getting the best of the best out of the competition. I mean, it's got to be tough to get that small when it comes to the player base. And now we have a look at the individual teams.
I had 222 Elite, their quality team, like during the Premier League, they just had so many skilled shots throughout. Bad Smile, again, I mean, obviously you mentioned their sort of skill set and how the expectation of them going through this. I think as well, there's just massive opportunity for these teams we're seeing on here. There you go. INV, as I mentioned, self-proclaimed multi-tournament winners. It's going to be interesting to see how they actually come through on this. They didn't fare too well in the Premier League. And then Luis Tanos, one of my original favorites in the Premier League. I'm really hyped for these guys. I really want them to do well. I think Nuno has a big opportunity. I shouted him out as a player I recognize from other games. CHR, I mean, you've been talking a bit about them. Let's have you shout them out.
Yeah, and I think it's really great to see as well some of these teams having a coach, having that fifth player. Like you said, getting people involved in that coaching spot can be very vital, writing down notes, being able to anti-strat your opposition. And, I'll tell you what, they look pumped. Look at this team coming out from Rebirth. I'll tell you what, they look excited like they come into play.
Yeah. Having that hype behind you as well as the actual skill set is going to be so important, because you need that hype and that adrenaline to go through these 6 maps that we've got today. And I mean, after having a look at these teams, we'll talk through the maps. But I mean, VIP, again, they look a little bit more serious, a little bit less just hype, a little bit more seriousness behind them. Shift, I actually really like that logo. I think it's probably one of the better ones I've seen. I think a lot of the others are pretty good, but maybe a little bit more pasta rather. And then we've got Overfear as well. I think these guys, apart from the guy on the left, obviously Remind, he looks a little bit more happy-go-lucky. Other guys look a little bit more serious, like they're out for blood, which will be interesting. Black Flag, I think they were a replacement team for another team today, so we'll see how they managed to fare in today's tournaments. Right, let's have a look at the point system here, Drake. So we actually have the same as we had during the Premier League. So we got first place is 20 points, second 17, 15, 13, 12, 10, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. If you land on that 0 points, you best have got a bunch of kills. Otherwise, you are screwed. And talking about kills, you get 2 points per kill. So really, if you manage to get 10 kills, you've got a booyah in your pocket anyway, and you'll manage to walk away with at least 20 points. So ideally, if you manage to get first and 10 kills, you're going to be rolling in points. 40 points in total. The max points in a single game I saw was 65, I think, during the Premier League. So we'll see how these teams fare.
Yeah, and you've got to think as well, right? You probably got to be looking for at least that top 6 position. Obviously, getting the gap between 6th and 7th of 4 points. When it comes down to the wire, when it comes down to game 6, points mean everything. But so do the kills as well. You mentioned it, Tom. 2 points per kill. So you will often see teams that rank 7th, 8th, 9th, but have been able to get a lot of kills, maybe start to overtake some of the other teams a little bit higher up. But having a look at the game schedule, 3 maps being played twice: Bermuda, Purgatory, and Kalahari. I tell you what, I'm very excited to see the maps being played twice here today, Tom.
Completely. I think it's the best kind of format to do. It does mean that we tend to go on for a long time, where there's then obviously 6 maps. But overall, I think in regards to sort of integrity and just a level of gameplay that we're seeing, I think 6 maps just gives these teams the ability to have some consistency across these maps. I mean, Bermuda, Purgatory, Kalahari. I've come from playing and sort of commentating on multiple different sort of battle royales and other things, but Free Fire really has nailed it when it comes down to the design of these maps and how these teams are playing in them. It's not that I haven't really sort of seen anything where I'd say, okay, that needs to be improved. All I can say is, okay, I just want to see more of this map game sort of played out from these teams, because some of these teams play them very differently when it comes to it. There's the sort of aggressive players, there's the passive players, there's people who jump in cars and drive around, which is a little bit different compared to most teams. It's very unusual to see the use of cars, as teams tend to just jump around or yeah.
And I think what's sort of a little bit interesting too is that not only are the maps visually different, but like you said, very different styles of play coming out, so passive aggressiveness and things like that. Now having a look at the prize pool. So total 300,000 for the EMEA region, but $80,000 for that first place. I mean, that's why it's in gold. That's why it's in first. Everyone is aiming for that spot right there.
Like looking at the graphic of what that trophy could look like in real life really makes me want to see a physical one. And I mean, just to mention, Greg, this is for the grand finals. If teams don't make it all the way through, they're gonna get nothing. They're gonna get absolutely nothing. So they have to play hard and they have to play well to be able to have a chance of even getting the last place in that top, which is still $10,000. But still, if you go out during these play-ins, you go home with nothing. You don't go home with your pride. Well, you do a little bit. I mean, you managed to make it this far, but compared to the other teams, nah, you got to play for it all. You got to get that 80K.
Yeah, look, it's not easy. Absolutely. We've got 12 teams in the playoffs, or the play-ins, I should say. Only 6 are going to be making it into those finals position, where we will have the 6 teams that are already there coming in with these 6 others to be able to create that 12 for the total prize pool. So you've got to think, Tom, there's a lot of, obviously, pressure, not only in the play-ins, but that further step. But I think you've got to look at it at one moment at a time. The finals won't be on for another 7 days. So if you can already get through the challenge of today, then you can look forward to next week.
Yeah, that 7-day period is going to be so crucial for these teams, looking back and saying, okay, we're going to be playing up against the best teams in the world right now. How do we actually go through and sort of challenge these guys? Where are they dropping? Do we want to challenge them for it? Do we back off? So even when you do get through this initial part, you've still got so much ahead of you, and you've only got 7 days to sort of really prepare for it. But you are going to be fairly warm, obviously, from today's games. You can have 6 games behind you. You would have performed great, and I think any team that managed to make it into the top 6, you really deserve a clap, and I can't wait to congratulate you on that front. So either way, let's have a look at the highlight video. It's going to be of an interesting one there, Greg. Greg rather, not Greg. Wow, screwing that one up. But let's take a look at this video. It's something that I have been wanting to sort of jump into and have a look at, so we can highlight some of the plays and the teams that we're going to be watching.
Oh, I tell you what, Tom, that was pretty exciting to see some of the highlights, and I'm really, really hoping that those highlights can, go from here and go right up. I'm hoping for so much action going into the play-ins today.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you said that you were disappointed and you weren't able to see sort of Blazer sort of play today, and I know I am too. He's definitely one of my favorite players. The sort of the young star child, as it were. And I think he's going to do really good in the grand finals when we get there next week. But I think we have some special players today that we can watch out for and hopefully take his place and get some amazing frags. Let's see if any player manages to get past 10 kills in a single game, I'm going to be really impressed. I mean, even above like 5 is going to be highly impressed as well. But I think we'll definitely see at least 5 to 6. But yeah, that hype video is really sort of getting me pumped for that front. I want to see some of these drops. I want to see some of the grenade launches out there, some of the sort of spicy sniper shots as well.
And I'm guessing for all the teams out there, maybe a goal today is to reach the 10 kills from an individual player. That would be really cool to see, just someone absolutely going ham, absolutely popping off. But I guess it's time to get into a couple of the predictions here, Tom. What are you thinking? You were able to get a bit of action from the European teams in the European qualifier. Have you got maybe a bit of a dark horse? Who are you going with in game 1?
I mean, I'm going to stick with my favorite lads. I think Bad Smile and also Lewis Thanos. I think Lewis Thanos are probably more my dark horse one because I think they have the potential, but they keep dropping out of it. They're not that as consistent. They obviously got here to this point, but there were times where they're just dropping out of it. Last night during the scrims, they were not doing it at all. Even though we only did sort of 3 games. I would definitely like to see them improve today. So they're my dark horse. Bad Smile, I think they're going to do fantastic. I think they're going to slap each other, like any of the other teams aside, and they're going to get there. What about you?
Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of leaning between Bad Smile and CHR. I'm really sort of keen to see how these CIS teams do. Maybe this is a new challenge for them, sort of thinking that the European region is just so much stronger, that coming into this, maybe we could see something a little bit different from these guys.
Indeed. Well, let's jump straight into the game here. So we've got the map right up in front of us. They have already gone. We didn't quite see the playing path there, so we can't comment on that, but I'm going to guess it's fairly central. Let's have a look at some of the players here. BDS, aka Bad Smile. One of the teams that I was just praising, Dreg. And they're going to be sitting here on Bermuda, the first map out of 6 for today. And so they're just going to be running around, taking the general loot. It would be good to be able to see the map, but as we sort of saw, it is sort of quite a centralized playing pattern from what I'd imagine, with very few teams actually over to the sort of northeast. I think there was maybe 1 or 2. We are going to see some early challenges, I think, on this front, but as you can sort of see, Bad Smile are looking to back away in this situation and not take on Esports Org.
And that's a little bit surprising for me, knowing that you're such heavy favorites coming into this. I thought that maybe applying some early added pressure, maybe trying to take a really quick gunfight to give you a bit of an advantage in terms of the kills, and obviously trying to get as much loot as possible and regroup this entire area towards a clock tower, that this could be a great opportunity. But you know what? They're pretty passive about it. They're not really looking to take too much of a fight here.
I actually really support that as well. I sort of hinted how I felt about this at the start of the day, is the fact that I really want to see these first 3 games be quite passive from a lot of these teams and just really play for consistency. And then once you sort of know where your footing is, where your grounding is, how the other teams are going to be playing, you then know how to go into the next 3 maps. And you can play aggressive, or you can just carry on and you can just play passive on that front. So it shouldn't be too bad. Either way, Esports Org. Let's just call them ORIG, I guess, on that front. It's a Russian team. We'll see. Game 1 out of 6, Drag. This is going to be a long process. About 25 minutes per game. We've got plenty of time for this. 222 Gaming going to be going up against UNNV.
A little bit of firefight coming out from at least a couple of individuals from this Rebirth side. And getting a little bit of that high ground advantage. But so far, we haven't really seen too much action. Pretty much all the teams just trying to go in for a little bit of loot. Obviously, just waiting until maybe we get to some of the later circles when we really start to see teams overpower one another. And you've got to think, Tom, it's all about game 1. Game 1 is really where you can start to push the rankings, start to get as many points as possible, and start to set yourselves up for this entire day.
It really is the pace setter, as it were. Like in other games, you have sort of different teams that can set the pace. And a team like 222 Elite or seemingly UNNV, they're trying to set the pace right now. They're like, right, we see a team here, we want to take them out. We want these kills. In total per team, if you kill all 4, I mean, that's 2 points per kill. So you can get an 8-point reward for taking out a whole team. But on the downside, if you do die, then you're kind of screwed. Even if you go down to 1 person, you're then going to have to play really passively. So we do see them back away from here. And this is really important. You can take the shots and you can try to get a couple of kills, but if you have to overcommit, walk away, back away from it. You can fight them later, and you don't want to get third-partied with a team coming in from behind you. So we do have the first airship sort of coming through. It'd be interesting to see what sort of drops come out from this front. Go over to Black Flag here on the other side of the map. They're currently just trying to spot out anyone. They're quite close to Los Tanos. You're seeing the sort of mini-map there, and those Tanos are sort of fairly by themselves. They don't realize that Black Flag know where they are right now. There's not really going to be too much action as we'd expect from these games early on. It's going to be sort of fairly passive, and as I say, that VIP going to be taking on a team.
Yeah, straight away into a little bit of action, taking some pretty long-range duels there, and VIP actually did take a fair bit of damage about that, so just making sure they're healing up with the first aids to maybe go in for a little bit of a later gunfight and regain that position, because they are actually going for a little bit of an aggressive approach. You see here for INV, they're actually getting a couple of players going down, the first blood actually coming through.
New kill leader.
Always nice to get your name there. Overfear going to be able to pick up the first kill for the whole tournament. That's something to keep an eye on. They've currently got the high ground, and they're going to be trying to shoot down on people, causing a little bit of hassle. Snacks here. Going to be just chilling with their lovely little pets. And although there's obviously going to be some action here, it's not going to be overbearing. There's still going to be some delay in big fights, and they're just sitting on top of the hill right now next to Conservatory, waiting to be able to spot anyone else out, but they're also trying to regroup.
And certainly for INV, they're losing that opening play. We saw a lot of walls actually going down to just try and buy them a little bit of protection, but it seemed like they were just getting countered on pretty much all sides of positions. So for them, already losing that opening man is going to make things a little bit difficult, especially if they start to get split up, especially getting into some of the late zones as well. You really want to be making sure that if a player is getting knocked, trying to pick them up as soon as possible. But it was that Luis Tanos lineup who you've been praising so far, Tom, to find that opening kill, and even looking for a little bit more, they're able to get another knock.
They're doing an Oliver twist here, asking for seconds, and they seemingly are getting a second help in here. Going to be able to get a knock, maybe even a follow-up on Yasir on the Black Flag. Lots of damage coming out here, direct.
That's what we want to see. Damage and kills. Another knock coming through. Finally, it's actually CHR to find the opening exchange for their front. So Luis Tanos not finding anything more. But I tell you what, rather than backing off and starting to reposition or maybe going in for a little bit more cover, it does look as if they want to continue trying to take some fights towards this BF lineup.
Let's go into the split screen here so we can see exactly where Black Flag and Luis Tanos are. And Luis Tanos is going to get third-partied. Can't quite see who that other team is. UNNV, I think, shooting them in the back. So now they're going to be stuck between 2 teams. So this is what I was talking about earlier, is that they've overcommitted to try and take this team out, and they're stuck in this one house. They're now going to get surrounded by a couple of teams. Luckily for them, the storm isn't upon them yet. They do have to be careful, because the players may well create their own storm and just come in and chuck in a couple of grenades into the single building.
And certainly for BF, they're in a really awkward position here, Tom. You've got 2 teams from either side around them, where for Black Flag, they're down on numbers. There's only 2 players left, and you've really got to think for them, they need to just hide out in this house, wait for the zone to come through, maybe start to have like a little bit of a relocation, but even escaping out of this building, it's going to be a tough ask.
Running from all angles, definitely going to be making it a little bit harder for them to be able to try and jump up on the hill or sort of change position. Luckily for them, I think they can just stay here for a while. Black Flag, and I think that is UNNV. We'll have to double check. There you go. It is them, or Rebirth as well, as they like to be called. So they do have a decent position over top them, but I think they're smart enough to realize that they can't just over-focus on one team, because as soon as you focus on one team, you're losing sight of the actual bigger picture. Because this is a game where you're not in a 1v1 or 1v2 or whatever. It's a situation where you're in a 1v11 other teams, and there's still so many people alive. Only 3 have died so far throughout the sort of initial part of this game, and even then, that many people shouldn't have died. I mean, Luis Thanos and are definitely like one of the teams with a kill as well as CHR. So these are two of the sort of teams that we did expect to get some kills. So we're going to be seeing the map here. Bad Smart are going to be rotating in through the south. They may well be heading off against Overfear, who are off the top there. We have the danger zone coming in. Otherwise, majority of the other teams are currently in, centered around peak area where the center of the circle is. Luis Thanos pretty much dead spot in the center as well. So even though they only have that one hut, they don't have to move for a long time. It'll be interesting to see where the next circle goes, but for now, it's going to be fairly chill. Even though we do have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams within about a stone's throw of each other, I don't think we're gonna expect too much of an issue coming in from these teams. Bad Smile potentially going to be the issue team. As they come in from the side, they're going to be pushing teams into each other, and oh, look at that circle drag.
Oh, it's right in the middle. It is right on top. I tell you what, the teams in the middle, they can honestly not even take fights from here. They could just hold their cover, hold their ground in their respective buildings. And even for Bad Smell, they are still on rotation in from the south. We are seeing a bit of a gunfight coming out between 222. Swift as well, seeing if they can get a little bit of the high ground advantage. Walls coming up. Shift now starting to rotate around with Cortex to see if they can find anything. It's actually a nade and another kill to come in, or at least a knockdown to be able to just overwhelm this 222 side. Swift doing a really good job to maintain the point.
They're just pushing in. They have no chill at all. Going to be able to get some finishes. Shift are going to be trying to do some return fire here themselves, sticking themselves behind these walls, and it's going to be Shift once again just pushing up, trying to get now a revive on one of his teammates. His 222 have actually been on the return fire, and there's going to be multiple of their members down, and they're going to get wiped out.
Okay, well, that was panning out really, really quickly. It looked there for a moment. We saw a couple of knocks going the way of Shift onto 222, but we saw revives coming in, and then out of nowhere, kills just started coming in so damn quickly. There is so much loot for this Shift lineup to pick up, and that is one of the biggest exchangements we've seen so far, Tom. That was looking very, very powerful from the Arab side.
I really expected 222 to be able to actually come through on that and take down Shift, but they just had a turn on them. I think they got too aggressive and overextended straight into the arms of Shift, who turned around and said, "No, okay, you managed to get a kill on us, but we're actually going to wipe you out for that pleasure." So you can walk away from this game with 2 points in total. First team to go out, 0 placement points at all. That is going to be disappointing. And now we're going to be looking at Bad Smile, my favorite. I think yours as well. And they're going to be late into the circle, but they have got a solid position.
I tell you what, they've actually been playing really, really passive so far from Bad Smile. They haven't looked to take any initial fights. They've been really passive. They were the team that was on the south on rotation to come into the circle. Now, Stay Away is in some relatively close quarters to them, so if they did want to try and push a little bit further to get involved in that next zone, there is certainly an opportunity there. But for the most part, Tom, they're just trying to play on this cliff edge and not really looking to do too much about it.
I think that's good. They like stay in that sort of passive area, as I've mentioned like multiple times now. Overextending, getting too aggressive is not a. It can be a good thing. It really can do. But when you're first trying to work at each other out, and they're sort of these different teams sort of play styles, you kind of want to be able to just hang back, chill out, wait until a bit further in, because right now they're in a good position. If the circle happens to shift hard over to them, they're in a fairly strong position to be able to take out a couple of these teams who try to push in them, because they'll be able to join in a third party when like away versus ES, for example, or CHR, when these teams sort of clash. Or if the circle goes in, they can come up and sort of backstab a couple of teams. But if they go too aggressive right now and sort of make their presence known, it's going to be hard for them to be able to take advantage of their sort of secret position, as it were.
And one thing to mention as well, right, is when Shift took that fight towards 222 Elite, they actually didn't lose any players, Tom. So they've still got that four-man unit going together. Crate being relatively nearby to at least being able to pick up from the Shift side. And it seems like for the Frenchmen, they're actually going to start a little bit of a rotation this way, a little bit more towards the west side of the circle. Yeah,
the circle actually shifted up more towards the northwest. So they're going to have to try and go over to this. And there is a current UAV circle in that, so they're going to have to be careful and sort of trying to not give away their positions. But we're going to be having a look at VIP as well. They're right next to Shift, and we know what happens with teams that try to go up against Shift right now. They do get wiped, but we're going to be looking at Luis Thanos.
Oh, they're looking to really get aggressive here. They knew early on that for this Black Flag side, there was only 2 players alive. This is now a perfect opportunity. They've got a little bit further aggressive. They're here in numbers, and this is an opportunity to just completely overwhelm their opposition. And you've got to think for BF, it's all about trying to do as much damage as possible, maybe just looking for kills here, Tom.
Have to be very careful because it might be the fact that they're the ones that are found as kills. They've taken down one, looking in for another one as well. It's going to be Black Flag. Yes, they're taking him down. Black
so far,
Flag.
so good. Yeah, like when you think of the situation they're in, Tom, where they've only got 2 players, they actually did the most that they could do. Overall, they were just a Lewis Thanos with 4 against 2. You expect them to be able to win out those duels, but for BF, at least trying to stay alive for as long as possible.
Yeah, but also managed to take out a player as well, so they did get a kill and they're going to land themselves at 11th position, which is fairly bad, but either way, we've got a bunch of action going on right now. VIP versus Esports Orig, and it's going to be a fairly equal fight. Although I say that, it's only going to be 1 member left of Orig, as he's going to be pushing in, jumping and over the fence, backing away.
Yeah, tough call there coming out for the Esports Orig side. Maddie just the last one, and saw a lot of walls coming up from both sides. Even some nades looking to come into the building, and for VIP in a 2 versus 1 in this sort of situation, they've got a chance to continue the fight and just completely eliminated this Esports Orig side.
Yeah, and they weren't even 100% sure he was in this building, but that nade landed some damage, and so the hit marker gave away that there is someone up there when they managed to hit him with a grenade. So now they know, okay, let's wipe out this team and do a really good job. Meanwhile, there is still another fight going on. It's going to be Overfear versus Lewis Thanos, and it seems like Overfear may well be doing getting the best of Lewis Thanos here.
Yeah, and for Lewis Thanos, we saw them being able to overwhelm that BF lineup, but now it seems like there was a bit of a challenger they weren't quite expecting. Overfear now trying to take the building away from them, and Lewis Thanos just really falling apart in this sort of situation. 3 kills so far for the Overfear lineup, but we will see a couple of knocks coming down from Shift, who have been doing some great damage so far.
Lots of damage, but can they manage to pull out all the kills? They managed to get a wipe early on. Meanwhile, CHR, one of your top favorite teams, going to be doing a bunch of damage, getting 2 kills so far. Looking to potentially wipe out a team. It's going to be VIP going down and out for the count. Shift as well, going to be losing a player. CHR, they've got the position on the map, and now they're going to be taking on Bad Smile. Actually, sorry, Bad Smile going to be taking on another team away. Going to get wiped.
Oh, simple as that. It seemed like for Stay Away, they were just so caught in the open from 2 different crossfires being set. And even for Shift, they're going to have to try and move in. Rebirth do have a player down knocked, but I think it might just be a little bit too late. Getting in the car to just try and get back into this circle. A Shift. It looks like they're going to be eliminated now. After what was a tremendous start from them to find some opening kills, has now just started to go away very, very quickly. And it seems like for all the teams, they're just trying to rush into this very, very small circle.
Overfear, we can watch them trying to make their way and making use of these walls, and they still have a bunch of them in their sort of utility bank as well to be able to push in, but they're going to be playing up against Iron V. How they actually manage to get past this is going to be fairly difficult. CHR, I'll let you take this. Hopefully, oh, that's actually Lewis Thanos right next to Overfear here.
I tell you what, this one player, all really Lewis Thanos needs to do is just try and stay alive. You don't really want to be trying to take a fight onto this many Overfear players. At least if you stay alive in this building, I'm not sure if that information's already come through that the player's there, but for Overfear, all it's going to take is just one single sound cue, one sound of information, and Lewis Thanos are going to be completely eliminated.
That's not what I was expecting for the team. I said they're fairly inconsistent. It seems like that's going to be coming through true, but we're going to be seeing a big fight here. Iron V, they've only got 3 members standing, but they're fairly spread out here. Overfear going to be doing a good job pushing in. I think Lewis Thanos is still alive behind them. Maybe going to be looking to do a backstab, but he might get caught out by the likes of Snacks. Either way, Overfear going to be losing players. Lewis Thanos is going to be going out to Iron V.
Oh, this is just getting so close. We're now down to almost 10 players left, trying to stay alive around these walls. Iron V just trying to make a play, but CHR are overwhelming. Now they're the ones on the offensive, looking to try and get these final kills. Bad Smile down to just 3 players, and CHR, it's down to the 2 heavy favorites to try and battle this off. More walls coming through to give them some more protection. A double kill coming through, and for CHR, they're looking to try and take the fight. They're aggressing. They're getting the pressure on, trying to push forward into this area. A lot of information is already coming through, and you've got to think for Bad Smile, goal. They need to do the same. They need to get aggression going for themselves. CHR seem to be overwhelming this defense, but for Bad Smiles, it's all about trying to see if they can find more. A quadra kill coming in for CHR, doing so much damage. Bad Smile are losing players by the second, and it looks like for CHR, they should be able to overwhelm this, but no, a killing spree coming through. CHR are just down to a couple last players, and there it is, a booyah coming through for the CHR side. I think we saw 6 kills in the end there coming out for Mel's.
One impressive gameplay from both teams, and these are the teams that we sort of expected to do really well. I mean, obviously, you called out Bad Smile and CHR, and I mean, you called out perfectly. They did both get right up until the end, and Bad Smile played it passively for a long time. They had a long rotation in, but CHR overall winners on that front. I'm excited to see what the total score is for them, but it's not going to be a small count. I think we could expect at least like 32, 35 points on that front. It really sort of depends how many kills they got on that front. Bad Smile, not quite sure how many kills they got. They were quite passive for a lot of that game up until the end, where I think they did pick up a couple of easy kills and then take down some of the members of CHR.
And that's one of the crucial elements, right? Is you come down into that very last circle, and it's a 3 versus 3. There's 6 players alive, 3 on the Bad Smiles side, and 3 over on CHR. But for Bad Smiles, they've been so passive the entire game one. It wasn't until right at the end that they had to initiate some fights where the kills started going their way. But for the most part, CHR were finding a lot in the mid game. We saw a lot of initial duels going out. They looked to be a very aggressive team, looking to try and get some early kills on their tally. And especially for Lewis Tanos, you think of their sort of situation with 10 players left. There was a player trying to survive, 1 left on the squad. So their ranking actually could be at least in the top 6.
But he did really well to be able to get to that spot. That's all I say. Like he was right next to a team for a good like minute or so, just hiding that building. Like please don't find me. Don't come and shoot me. So he actually managed to make it into an extra position or 2, I think, because of his passive gameplay and just sneaking around, and it was very clever. I mean, we then saw CHR take advantage of INV getting pushed on by Overfear as well. So they really had that sort of opportunity to mop up some extra kills and sort of make sure that these teams didn't come out of this house fully alive, and that they couldn't have a full sort of 4-man stack go up against the last circle. So they only really had to then contend against BDS, who were already sort of damaged by other teams, and CHR just came out on top. So I think GG well played to them, and what a fantastic first booyah.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And you've got to think as well, I think maybe a couple of disappointments coming through. I think for 222 Elite, losing that big duel against Swift probably would have favored them in that sort of a situation. But Swift was able to do very well. Yeah, maybe not so much they were there in the late game to try and get that upper ranking. But it does give me a fair bit of confidence for this Swift side that they actually do have the intent to try and take some of these duels against the teams rather than being quite passive. Because for the most part, when you think about how the European teams were playing, it seemed like it was a lot more passive, whereas for the Arab teams, they were the ones, especially CHR in the end there, between CHR and the Arab teams, they were looking to try and open up the playing field and get numbers on their tally.
I think they've realized that it's really important to obviously get into a strong position and then take shots and then not overextend. And that's what we saw from CHR, why they were, I think, one of the first teams to take some shots, but they weren't the first to get a kill, if I remember correctly. And so they then sort of backed away from the situation, repositioned, and then they were able to take kills in sort of the mid game and then end game. And so sort of being that sort of clever, like sort of switch between aggressive and sort of smart gameplay is very good. And I think some of the other teams really need to sort of take note and really do their best to sort of chameleonize and sort of copy some of the other gameplay styles.
And one thing we were kind of talking about in the pre-game was sort of like 5 or 10 kills up for an individual. I think for Mers, we saw him on 6 or 7 kills in the end, and most of them were coming in the very last circle. I thought for CHR, it was a much better intent, especially with that circle really starting to close in, that they actually were the ones aggressing forward. It seemed like for Bad Smile, they were always on the back foot when it came into that 3 versus 3. They were trying to get the knocks in through reses. They were trying to play behind their walls, and they were so scared to actually get out into the open that CHR were just running at them, giving them so much pressure from so many different angles as well, not only from a single individual, but pretty much the whole team.
Yeah, Bad Smile came into it, and for a lot of time, we saw them. Oh, here we go. Actually, let's have a look at the standings. We'll talk about this later. 12 kills. All right, that surpasses what I expected from CHR, but what a fantastic initial scoreboard here. So this is going to be the first score we're going to be seeing from all games. The overall standing, CHR landing 44 points, almost double the points of second place, which is over here with 27, because they have 7 kills. That's 14 points overall from that spot. Badsmal, they've got 23 points, 3 kills. Only 3 kills, and they came second.
And I'll tell you what it really sort of stands out for me the most here, Tom, is that when you look at the distribution in terms of the kills, you know, most teams are sort of around that 3-4-2 kind of mark. And then you've got CHR and Overfear that have just put up some crazy numbers. And certainly going into game 1, when you think of the 2 favorites from the respected regions of CHR and Badsmal, to almost double their points in one game probably gives a lot of confidence up for the Russian side, saying, you know what, going into the next couple of games, we've already given ourselves such a huge advantage.
I am fairly scared that this is going to be a common theme, that CHR and like maybe Batsman and others are just going to dominate the lobbies, but I mean, we have to wait and see what happens over the next 2 games. I thought we were going to be seeing a little bit more chilled gameplay like Batsman did, but if CHR are going to be continuing playing like this, there is no chill. Batsman are going to be in a bad position if they stay like this. Lewis Tanos as well. I mean, 2-2 Elite, they go into this with 0 points, 0 kills at all. That's just bad.
And it's got to be pretty threatening, you've got to think, too, for some of these other teams to maybe go into the next couple of games with the intent, okay, when the drops come through, do we want a hot drop on top of CHR? Like, do we want to try and win that initial fight to just get them out of the competition? Because for some of those teams towards the end there, we saw for 2-2 Elite, 0 points, coming last in 12th place, no kills for them. They've got to do something if they want to get back into contention again. The top 6 is going to make it into the finals. And yeah, we do have 6 games. We still do have a lot to play. But those early points, they can start to put a lot of pressure on. And if you're not getting points up on the board, especially in these early games, it's going to make it so much more difficult. You're going to have to play a little bit more risky going into those later sections.
I'm interested to see what the average score of the top team is going to be at the end of the day. Is it going to be that they're going to have consistent, steady amount, or are they going to have these high frag intensive games like CHR where they manage to get 12 kills, but then is it like the following game? Do they get hot drops? Do they end up dying? Or is it the fact that they just play chilled and end up getting taken out because it didn't work a second time? I'm really interested from an analytical point of view to be able to see, okay, there isn't actually one clear winner here. It could be that these scores are very, very similar, unlike in the EMEA sort of Premier League where we actually saw Bustamundo, I think, get about 50 points ahead of anyone else in the grand finals, if I remember correctly, which is just like a really impressive scoreline. That's like they didn't even get that amount of points in this single game. CHR, they got 44 points. Bustamundo's top game was about 65. So there's a clear reason why they made it all the way through to the grand finals. But either way, so have a look at the highlights here, Dreg.
Yeah, and I think this really sort of set the pace, at least for the Lewis Tanos lineup. We saw that for BF, trying to hold on for as long as possible, getting really just caught out there. 2 versus 4, we saw a big exchange coming through from Esports Org, where we actually saw the rushing jewels coming down from the VIP lineup to just be able to really annihilate them on this front.
Annihilation is definitely a word I would use on that front. I mean, that they end up with one person who goes up into a building, gets slapped, and this is a really cool fight. This is where Lewis Tanos, the last player, was just hiding with Overfear just right next to them, and he manages to stay alive for quite a long time. And then this Iron V versus Overfear fight is so crucial to the whole game, because CHR just watching from above, taking a couple of shots in, trying to set the tone and trying to stop them from being able to jump out the back. So Iron V are trapped in this building. They have to take this fight. And so Overfear getting hit by the blue, and they're also having to take a fight straight on. So they're really sort of trapped in this really bad position. Lewis Tanos, they went down in 5th, which is a really good sort of position for them considering they had one man.
And I think this was really what was so important for CHR was not only was winning some of these really important fights, Tom, but being in the right position. We saw there with Overfear and INV that they were kind of out of position. They were taking damage from the blue. They were taking damage from one another. And then CHR are like, yeah, well, we're just in the middle of the circle. We'll just wait for you to come in. And then that's our opportunity to strike. And that's where they got the majority of their kills from, was having that high ground, having the positional advantage, because all the other teams, well, they were just on rotation in.
I disagree that they weren't just sitting there, because as I was saying, they're poking at these teams. Like INV were trying to jump out of that building, and like, nah, pew, 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 taking a couple of shots, stopping them from being able to run away, forced them into that fight with Overfear, really weakening them and sort of mashing them up, like beating them up a bit. So when they did run out to them, it was just like 3 kills. They were just like bang, kill, bang, kill, bang, kill, and it's just easy feeding time for them.
A couple of nice sniper shots coming too as well. Close range duels. Maybe that's something that we'll see a little bit further on too for that CHR side. But look, Tom, I think that game 1 gave us a couple of surprises. One little surprise for me was, especially in the early game, we did see like 2 or 3 teams hot drop towards Clock Tower, but it seemed like the initial intent was, we're just looking for loot. We don't want to take any opening fights. It seemed like it was really passive. I wonder with a change now with the map going forward, whether we might have a little bit different in terms of a strategical advantage, because certainly the first like 5 or 10 minutes of game 1, we didn't really get to see too much action.
It was fairly quiet, and I like that. I appreciate it. It also gives us time to, you know, just chill and relax and talk about the gameplay, but in a not so fast tone. And I think we'll see that again in Purgatory and Kalahari. I think Kalahari might be a bit more fast paced as we go through it. It really sort of then depends on where teams are going to be dropping. I don't think we're going to be seeing any hot drops into the second game. It's a sure way to die fast, or have the high chance of dying. I mean, the Battle Royales are a game where you have to try and mitigate RNG the best you can, and if you're dropping down on someone, you can't be certain you're going to get the right loot to fight them straight away. So that's why when we saw that Bad Smile drop, I think it was next to Esports Orig, if I remember correctly, near Clock Tower, they were keeping their distance. They're respecting the sort of COVID situation and not trying to get too close to each other. And then, like later on, they were like, "Nah, screw it, you're gonna die. We're gonna take you out." And they tried their best on that front, but Bad Smile did just run for the hills, which then landed them being able to get that sort of second position. So playing passively does work out, but you have to be able to follow up with those kills. And if you get them mid game or sort of late game, I don't think we'll be seeing too many in the early game unless there is those, in my opinion, stupid hot drops.
And one of the things as well is weighing up the risk versus reward, right? You've got to think that, you know, going forward, I think we'll see maybe some more risky plays going into like games 4, 5, and 6. I think for the first initial few, probably not so much. Teams can kind of play their own style. Maybe if they find that they're not doing too well, they need to make a play. They need to be able to get more points on the board for them. Maybe that's where we'll see some hot drops towards the end of the day. But I think for the early couple of games, try and play it safe. We've already seen the 2 favorites of Bad Smile and CHR go really far, which is what was expected. Whether that happens again going into game 2, I'll be excited for, because if we see another exchange in a 3 versus 3 situation like that, I'm going to be just so much more excited.
There's so many opportunities here for us to have really exciting gameplay, and I think that sort of 5th and 6th is where we may see those hot drops, and we might see it from, say, if Lewis Thanos are at the bottom and then not going to do anything, or 222 Gaming, Elite rather, they might be like, okay, you know what, we'll drop CHR, we'll screw with that region, and try and help our other lads, because after all, we're kind of a little bit biased here towards the EU regions, but either way, I'm so excited for this next game. It's going to be on the Purgatory Dreg. I think there's so much we can expect from these teams. I don't think there's going to be hot dropping, but I think we're going to be seeing some fantastic action. And I'm going to continue talking about this playing path. It is going to be from south to northwest. A slight sort of angle here, given open to the whole of the map for these teams to be able to land across from campsite all the way over to golf course. And CHR going over to Moat House, which is just like in the middle of the lake. We're going to be seeing some early shots going to be coming out as well. Can't quite see what's going on.
I tell you, one thing that has sort of caught my interest a little bit there with the map, Tom, was certainly in the last game, in the early circles, we saw a lot of teams playing very centralized towards the middle of the map. This time around, even with a sort of central playing path, we've actually seen teams looking to take a little bit more map control, being a little bit more spread out rather than bunched up towards together. But there are a couple of teams here in towards Brasilia, Esports Org, a little bit further away, just trying to see if they can get some early loot and get some more points on the board. The airship is approaching, and well, so far it seems like, although we've had a couple of teams near each other, no action has come through just yet.
Yeah, there was those sort of couple of shots at the start, but then they were smart enough to be able to run away. Although saying that 222, Roderick, he's asking for some pain, Dreg.
Hey, he's a little bit alone in this position, so there's a really good chance here that he can just be isolated from the rest of his team. He needs a little bit more support because there are multiple players out from that esports org side. But for Lewis Tanos, it seems like for them, they have been able to at least find the opening blood, and it is on to the Bad Smile side. What a start this has been for Lewis Tanos, getting rid of one of the players from the favorite team. What a start that is.
That's going to be hurting really badly, and Goober may be able to start feeling pain himself. He's about to run into potentially 3 of the different players. You can see him taking some fire straight away whilst he's going to be trying to heal up here as he sort of runs down the hill. He's got a sniper out, but he's so close to Lewis Tanos and so close to Bad Smile and his other teammates as well. And they have got the manpower to be able to take them on, but at the same time, you're going to be exchanging deaths for deaths at this point. And also, just where Dex is right now, you're not going to be able to really push him that easily and get the finishing blow. So I don't even know if that's even worth going for.
And you've got to think that for Bad Smile, it's not worth them taking this engagement. It's probably better off to try and keep players alive. Maybe see if you can get a couple of kills from the distance rather than going into the ski lodge and trying to take some very close quarters battles, because already for them being second place, or at least second ranked when it came to their placing in game 1, they really don't want to be one of the teams to have an early exit, or at least be very limited towards the end game. So we already have seen one player going down. But for Bad Smile, rather than sort of backing off and starting to reposition, they are still staying around this ski lodge towards Lewis Tanos.
Yeah, I mean, like, staying around the same spot is fine because it allows you to try and keep track and know that they're not trying to backstab you. But if you just run away and you don't try and keep an eye on where this team is going, it can be a dangerous situation. Meanwhile, CHR probably, well, yeah, currently the biggest contender in regards to the points, but in the top right, we can actually see the VSS from BDS taking down one of the Lewis Tanos members. Maybe doing for a trade on trade here. Let's jump back into the action, and Ray was the guy who managed to get the knock there. I don't think it was the finish, so he may... Oh no, Goober's alone.
Yeah.
This is a revenge kill.
Yeah, look, I don't like this from Lewis Tanos. They've got a teammate just completely exposed out into the open. A really simple chance for this Bad Smile side to just overwhelm. And look, there it is. The final blow coming through. No res coming up onto that knocked player. And for Bad Smile, they've been able to find a little bit of a response here, Tom. So going 1-for-1 in comparison between the two teams. But it does seem like for 2-2-2 Elite, they've been able to get off to a little bit of a better start this time around, finding their first kill of game 2.
On Overfair of all teams as well, one of the teams that were, I think they came in 3rd or 4th at the end of last game. So that must be fairly painful for them. But we do know, I'm fairly certain Triple 2 they must be down to 3 members as well. Because if they're just spread out really far again, I'm going to be pretty disappointed. It's hard to see, but they are very close to each other. I would say Overfair have the advantage in position right now. And he has got an AUG on him, which I'm fairly certain is he would have had to get from a drop instead of one of the players. Okay, there is 4 members alive or Triple 2, and they're trying to push up here. Snack's going to be taking the first shots.
Good stuff coming out from Snacks, and realizing in this sort of situation, just trying to fall back because 2-2-2, they're starting to overextend it. Look how aggressive they're getting to try and get in the open here for the Overfair side. Snacks trying to see if he can round the corner and be able to get a bit of a flank behind. I think they may have just spotted him towards this brick wall area, and you've got to think for Overfair, Snacks needs a little bit more help, but he's still doing damage with the shotgun, looking to do a little bit more, but he gets knocked down, and his teammates, well, they're too slow to rotate in. I think they're just backing off here.
I mean, he gets knocked down, he's not going to get up again on that front. They're still going to be leaving Overfair down to 2 players. Bad Smile? Not Bad Smile, sorry, Triple 2. They're going to be able to pick up this player, so they're going to be very happy with this. Going to be able to get a bunch of kills, maybe even more, as I think they're going to try and chase Overfair, who are now driving away for their lives. Esports Org, I think, have been in a bit of a fight as well. They're going to be sitting in this tower, just trying to stay a little bit chill and relax in this front, and he's gathering intel at the moment on VIP for his team, and he's going to be able to take some shots on them. But they have got a bunch of snipers on them, so if you do start shooting on them from a distance, they do have a fairly big advantage on a couple of these players. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to fight up against this team.
And certainly when it comes to these clock towers, you get a lot of vision in terms of an advantage, but sort of sometimes making sure that you've got a melee out rather than a rifle for it to not stick through and give away that information over to other squads coming in. For Shift, we saw them being able to find some early couple of kills in game one. This time around going for a little bit more of a slower approach, but they do have Black Flag that is looking to try and contest this 4 versus 4, two very healthy squads coming towards one another. And it seems like for Shift, they're just trying to play this as cautiously as possible, trying to get behind some of these obstacles, try and force Black Flag out into the open, which is exactly what's happening. A few walls already coming down for the Arab side, and for Shift, they now need to get a little bit of cover going themselves, because for Black Flag, they're continuing this aggression.
Aggression from Black Flag, heard that before, and it didn't end well for them last time. Is it going to end well for them this time? They do manage to take two members of Shift right down, knocked out for the count. We're going to be seeing OVL trying to get some revenge here and try to get a counter knock, but it's not quite working. Two of his teammates are going to be going down. The finishes from Black Flag are going to be coming out, and it's going to be Shift down to one person left standing, but he's doing a lot of damage, but it's not enough. He's going out in 12th position. I don't think they even got any kills. Black Flag end that fight with 4 kills for themselves.
Oh, what a turnaround. And I actually love the pressure and aggression they brought forward. And you thought for a moment there, especially with how many walls were being put up, that for Black Flag, they would have just backed off and they would have maybe looked to get themselves a little bit more of an advantage with the higher ground or take things a little bit more cautiously. But no, it was relentless, Tom. It was fight after fight after fight. We saw knocks coming through, revives coming up. And for Black Flag, they don't lose a single player. A great return from them to be able to find 4 kills between them, and that's 8 points for their tally.
I think it was a really good performance from them. Like you said, being able to walk away from that with 0 deaths is so crucial. And being able to get 8 points right off the board. Now, even if they go down right now, they've got more points than most of the actual ranking spots can actually give them. So I think that's really good. If they get 6th position and no more kills, that's at least 18 points. And so having that sort of consistency behind those points could land them towards the end of the leaderboard and sort of in that top sort of 6th position, but they're still going to have to do a lot to be able to get to that point. Meanwhile, let's have a look at the overview of the map. We've got Overfear, still got 2 members left alive. Lewis Tanos, they were down to 3 members. Bad Smile, top of the map, right next to Moat House, 3, but they are in the map, not in the Storm, whereas Lewis Tanos very much are going to be losing a lot of health whilst just staying out in this Storm right now. 222, again, it's just not on the hill next to Marble Works right now. There's quite a few teams sort of gathering up close to each other. There's Stay Away and CHR. There's Esports Oregon, VIP, soon to be 222 as well. And let's have a look at where's this circle going to go. I reckon top.
Oh.
Never mind. Okay. This is going to be crazy. There's so many people who have to try and cross that river.
That's the thing, is how slow some of these rotations are going to be coming through. We saw, at least for Bad Smile in game 1, they were very much so on the outer edges of the circles starting to come in. They're now in a really bad position to get all the way over to that sort of west position. And I tell you what, there are a few teams in the zone as it is, but like you said, Tom, crossing that river could be the big element, especially if there are teams with a little bit of high ground advantage trying to stay in from buildings and waiting for players to cross over. We still got 11 teams in this, 40 players still alive. Esports Orig, and maybe a chance for them if they want to start to aggress onto the 222 Elite side. But in saying that, it is actually Rebirth onto IBN, getting that initial knock going down. More kills coming through for Black Flag. They've been doing very, very well so far in game 2, but it's all about trying to continue this aggression because that is where they have been at their strongest. Alex trying to fall back. Black Flag here in massive numbers. 8 kills now. This is unbelievable. This is twice they've been able to delete 2 individual squads with no one going down for BF.
I'm just impressed. Like I've definitely been sleeping on them. I really didn't think too much of them, but coming into this game, they've just managed to collect a calm and cool 16 points. Plus position points now, because at minimum, they're going out in 10th. 222, they're going to be facing a fight as well. Roderick going to be going out. I was surprised he didn't die earlier from some of his gameplay style, but Trista's going to be the one taking him out. Stay Away, just going to be fairly chill here. No team's too close to them, but I think we'll see. We'll see how these guys are going to be able to do this. But when it comes to these rotations, do you think these teams are going to fare well having to try and cross over this water?
It's going to make it difficult. There's no doubt about it, especially when you've got teams that are actually looking to cut off rotations pretty easily. We've seen here from BF, at least, that every single time they've actually sort of seen a bit of a squad, they've looked to actually rather than just leave them there to actually be able to engage into a bit of a gunfight. Now we see for Stay Away, they do have players on pretty close contact from them, and see Esports Og just on the other side of the hill. And
So,
having a look back at the map, look at how many teams are still trying to make their way into the circle.
I mean, just look at Overfear, Lewis Tanos, Bad Smile, they're all on the edges here. And as soon as this circle is closed, I really do expect we're going to be down to like 8 teams potentially on that front. So it's going to be interesting to see how even like there's something like the UAV spot is going to affect it, because it's now giving away Stay Away's position as well as Rebirth as well. And now Esports Orig and eventually VIP as well. So there's a lot of information that's going to be spread out to all the teams, especially teams rotating in here. Oh, Black Flag versus Bad Smile. Look at the right-hand side.
Oh my goodness, this could be big. This could be very, very big, especially knowing how much BF have been able to do so far in this game and just eliminating everyone that goes their path. Now, even that circle closing in even further towards the Marble Works. And we're seeing some of the top teams in the rotation still. Away's now taking a couple of fights in their position. Only 1 kill to their name so far. And for Esports Og, you've still got Angel in this sniper's nest position. Bit of a drop to come through to upgrade some of these weapons. But BF, they are on a killing spree, Tom. They don't stop.
They're scary. But yeah, I think someone else just got eliminated there. I think I missed it. But I mean, I think Black Flag are probably one of the contenders to be able to do the best and have the highest score in this, depending on how they do against Bad Smile as they push in, which I'm really interested to be able to switch over and see instead of this player here. Although you can see Grusty's also got a care package here, level 3 helm, AWM if he really wants it, which I don't think he does. CHR, they're going to be trying to push further into the circle, well, into the actual circle, because they're not in yet. And they're going to be coming across 222 Elite, who could really do some damage to them.
Now, you've got to think for CHR, they haven't really had too many opportunities so far. They've been away from the rest of the teams for the majority of this second game. Now there's an opportunity to try and overwhelm this 222 Elite side. Only 3 players to hear from them, and you've got to think for CHR, we saw them getting a very high placing. They came first out with a large majority of kills. It's been a very different game from them this time around, though, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, what was the first game? A fluke? Did they actually deserve that many points? I mean, we're going to have to see this. They're currently crossing in the open. They've used down some glue rolls. They have been spotted, but it's going to be Bad Smile looking on Black Flag, and they're going to be doing a lot of damage here. You can see the far shots from QF coming out. They managed to get the fit. Oh, actually, that was CHR going down. So we're going to switch on back over to this. David is going to be going down. It's going to be Tomerso trying to find the shots here as well with his, well, auto shotgun from I can tell here. 222 going to be looking to do the damage, but Refuser going to be tagged down half HP. He's going to be having to be really careful. We're going to go into a split screen on this part. CHR stuck against the blue. The blue's going to be coming in. It's going to be doing a lot of damage. Refuse stuck in a position with his teammate. They've got some grenades. Pedro chucks it out, but it's not going to do too much as they're just going to get in pushed inside this one building. 222 looking to go out in 10th spots.
Yeah, look, unfortunately there for 222, they were just down so many numbers, Tom. We only saw 2 players left from them. And in the end, especially with that zone closing in, they ended up being split from their teammates. David was completely in a different building than the rest of his crew. And for Overfear, you've got to think for these last couple of players, it's all about just trying to stay alive, get as much of a late game as possible. Rebirth still yet to get a bit of a kill here, but a chance for them to aggress out onto the lowest Tamas lineup. 4 players from them all starting to close in this circle. It's getting closer and closer, and there's still so many players still alive.
I mean, still 24 in total. That's crazy. And as I said, at the end of I thought by the time that circle had closed, there was going to be 8 teams. And voila, I'm a magician because it's going to be down to 8 teams, 24 people alive. Rebirth, they've only got 1 kill. I really expected them to do a little bit better here, and they have got BDS, Bad Smile right behind them on the outside of the circle, who are going to have to push in next to them whilst they take some shots at VIP, and taking him down with a sniper. He talked about sniper shots before we went into this, and that was a really nice shot coming in from them.
And look at even for ES, right? They're behind VIP while Rebirth are actually taking those fights. And now Black Flag are trying to get involved in this situation. There are players coming in from all different angles here. And now the zones are getting smaller and smaller. Everyone trying to converge in this very tight area. And there's still 16 players alive. It is going to be coming down to the last few gunfights. ES still trying to come in from rotations. You've got a couple of teams very, very low on players. And it's all going to come down to this last circle and who's going to get here in time. Away are in a pretty good position here. They will have to start to rotate in, but they've still got so many players alive, and so does the Rebirth camp.
You know who hasn't got many players? That is actually going to be CHR, who are going to get wiped out in 5th place. Meanwhile, Rebirth going to be taking some shots against Stay Away, and I think Bounceman in a fairly good position to try and get one of the last spots here, especially if Rebirth going to have esports coming up behind them and doing some damage. But this is going to be a nice distraction for a team like Stay Away and BDS or Bad Smile to try and make their way in, because it's going to be very hard for them to be able to hold all these different angles. And now Bad Smile, they're making their move along the road. There's only 2 members left standing on their team. They really don't want to go out too early, but they can't stay on the outside for too long. The storm is now coming in. A grenade goes out. I think it has taken out someone. I can't quite see. There we go. Bad Smile going to be down to 1 person left now. Still alive. The grenades going out, trying to take down Stay Away, but the storm is about to hit Bad Smile, and he's not in a position to be able to stay alive any longer. But look at that, that Rebirth. Bad Smile, go out, but not before. I think Stay Away may well be able to run away with this if they're so lucky. That grenade did massive amount of damage. Esports looking to try and make it in here as well, but they're going to get tagged down heavily by the likes of Sacco with the Tommy gun. This pet just going to be sitting up on top of there. Stay Away, their 4-man stand-in. Rebirth, they only have 1. I think we have a clear potential winner here, unless Esports already managed to come out on top somehow, pulling out sort of a magic trick. This is the final circle. Everything to play for here in the second game of the Free Fire Continental Series. EMEA going to be Rebirth trying to push in, but he's going to be in a 1 versus 2 situation on this side of the map, while Stay Away are going to be having to go against 2 other members, and it's going to be Stay Away just slaughtering everyone. That's going to be a massive booyah. GG, well played. Stay Away, rather, doing a fantastic job of being able to pick up that win.
And I'll tell you what, Tom, it's all about trying to hold on to the numbers game. Very late there, we saw that Black Flag were down to a single player, Bad Smile were down to just 1, and there were so many players just prone in the middle, just trying to stay alive. You had a couple of teams that were very, very low on individuals, but for Stay Away, they were able to maintain pretty much the entire squad for so long that when it came down to it, they were just able to find those last gunfights. I think we saw a HE coming in, a grenade doing like 2 or 3 kills, a mass amount of damage, and from there, that's what tiptoed the end.
The grenades are really crucial throughout that whole end part. I mean, there was a big wall in between sort of cutting off these teams, so they really had to be able to have those grenades out. And as soon as Stay Away got that sort of 3-man knock with a single grenade, or 2 nades, whatever it was, that was pretty much GG. They had a 4-man versus a couple of players who are sort of staggered across the map, damaged, having to try and heal up, fighting in between themselves. They really did set that up for them to win, and they had to push in from outside the circle and across an open field where Bad Smile didn't challenge them enough. Even though there was only 2 members of Bad Smile alive at the time, they still just let them get a free push in. And I think that's really what ended up setting up the end of the game, with Stay Away not getting challenged.
And one thing as well, right, when you compare game 1 and game 2, especially the end game, it was so different. We had a 3 versus 3 in game 1 of 6 players alive. At one moment, I think there were 16, 18 players alive when it was so close quarters. And I think some of those concrete blocks actually gave so much cover, whereas in game 1, it was out in the open. It was the walls that were giving the majority of that defense, where in that last circle, when that last zone was really starting to close in, when the storm was hitting, it seemed like there were so many players that were just trying to hide, trying to stay alive for as long as possible. But for Stay Away, this is another, do you want to say upset? I mean, we've seen 2 CIS teams now look very, very strong when we consider the Europeans to be the strongest here.
Yeah, I think we have some, I guess, confirmation bias from our side of like sort of having to focus and being from the EMEA region. So I think we do know that CIS are a very dangerous region, and they're coming in and proving that as well. I mean, I do know like their stream right now is like 30 or 40,000 people watching it, some crazy numbers. So there's a massive amount of support, and I can see why. They're doing really well. So I think in regards to upsets from our side, yeah, I think we're a bit little bit disappointed with Bad Smart and Lewis Tanos and a couple of the other teams, like
Yeah.
Triple Two as well. They've been fighting amongst themselves, which sure you need to do, but at the same time, like there's been like straight away during the early game, we saw Lewis Tanos versus Bad Smart doing some just stupid stuff. Goober from Lewis Tanos decided to run out in the open behind a rock
Yeah.
by himself. And that's
No
where he ended up
teammates.
dying. And that's pretty much what happened on like Bad Smart. One of their players was by himself. I mean, it's also the same for Triple Two as well with, I think it was Roderick, who was by himself for a long time, where he nearly died and ended up eventually dying as well to a team as well. So that's a lot of the European teams making this mistake where they end up one man down, which means they're much weaker in mid and late game fights.
Yeah, one thing that kind of caught my eye too was what happened there with BF. Black Flag just came up absolutely huge. Maybe they weren't there towards the late game and getting a high placing, but you still had one player when there was like sort of 16 left. So you'd be surprised that they might sort of get that maybe 5th, 6th, 7th placing. But the amount of kills they got, they took down 2 entire squads, Tom, without a single player going down. I mean, incredible to think in the mid and early game how much damage they were doing, when in game 1 they didn't even have an opportunity. They were sandwiched from 2 different sides and they came out very near the end.
They did really well. I'm fairly certain they got 8th position, which is about 4 points, and they got 8 kills. I can't
Yeah,
we'll have
it's
to
a
double
lot.
check. So that's 20 points. That should be around 20 points for them on that front, which is massive. That's the same as a booyah on what Stay Away got, and I'm really excited to see the overall scoreboards and see, well, one from that game, how many points did Stay Away end up getting there? Because it could be that they didn't actually get a crazy amount, but I think we're going to jump on over. Yeah, there we go.
Ooh, there we are. Yeah, so look, what, 10 kills coming up for Black Flag. I think that's really going to help them starting to push forward. The 2 favorites of Bad Smile and CHR having some very limited amount of kills there, only 2 for the respective teams. But Stay Away, it seemed like they were the ones that really parted away from the rest of the teams. 12 kills up for them to find 44 points in game 2.
Got to give them massive props. I mean, that's the exact same score line as the first game that we saw from CHR. So there's definitely some consistency from the CIS region. And it's fairly surprising that they managed to do that. I mean, Black Flag as well, coming in second overall with points because they managed to get 10 kills instead of the 8 we thought. That's just so impressive, mate. Like I don't know. Like I thought they were going to be one of the bad teams on this front, and they've really just come through on that game, and they've shown us that they have the skill and ability to do well.
Yeah, and when you think about that, right, 8th place in terms of the ranking, but up to 2nd when it comes to kills, it really proves just how important those 2 points per kill really can be, Tom, in the sense that maybe you're not making it into the top 6 and you're making it into the late game, but you're still getting a majority amount of kills. We have a look at the overall standings. CHR are still on top, even having not quite the best performances in game 2.
Yeah, that's what. How many points did they get in that last game? It must have been, what, 16?
It wasn't a lot, yeah.
I mean, you say it's not that a lot, but that's still more than Shift or Triple Two Elite,
Yeah.
and almost the same as Iron V in their 2 games. So I would actually say it's fairly impressive. But even with that incredible performance in that game, Black Flag still down in 7th position, so not even in the qualifying spots right now.
Yeah, and look, you've got to think, especially for that BF lineup, who probably looked the most impressive, I think, going into game 2, that maybe that's a bit of confidence to sort of say, look, we came back from a really, really big deficit. We've now got up to 7th. We're on that brink of getting the top 6 because that is the goal for all of these teams, Tom. You want to be making top 6. Yeah, if you come in 1st or you come in 6th, like, it's still making it into the finals. It doesn't really weigh too much importance on where you come in there, as long as you break that barrier and get into that 6th position. That's what you've got to be hoping for. And for BF, if we can see that same play style, yeah, maybe they don't get into the late game, maybe the squad does go out pretty early on, but they're getting those kills, they can start to rise up the rankings.
Yeah, as long as they can just play consistent, which is, I mean, that's what I'd say for any game, and for this as well. If you can play a consistent game, but consistently medical or like half decent, you're going to at least make it through the qualifiers. But then you need to play well after that. Like, you can't just half-arse it. You have to push your foot down on nitrous and really push ahead. So I think Black Flag, sure, play chilled again in the next game, but then after that, I think you really need to be able to push it a little bit harder, because I don't think their current gameplay style will get them to the qualifiers. But I'm happy to be wrong on that front. Either way, though, I just want to say, Lewis Thanos, Admiral, stop fighting each other early on, you know? Take a chill pill, relax, loot, back off, play for the end game. Don't screw each other up, well, don't screw yourselves up, rather, on that front. So we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at the highlights, Greg. I mean, that was such a fun game, and yeah, we're going to be having a look at Black Flag here.
Yeah, and we just saw for Shift, right? They were the ones that was actually able to take a pretty aggressive approach against 222 Elite in the first game, but here, just getting completely overwhelmed. You see a couple of lurkers coming through, but even for BF, not letting anyone go down, really being able to overwhelm, getting a couple of revives going forward. A CHR onto 222 Elite. We saw David being completely isolated from the rest of his team. Refuse and Pedro were so far away, still trying to just stay alive. No way they can help out his teammate there. And for CHR, just continuing that relentless aggression, continue fighting onto 222. And this was getting to a point where we were even getting into some late circles, and there was still a very large amount of squads and players still alive. You get into this position here, look at how many players, or how many teams I should say, are just trying to hide. You can see VIP, just a single player just trying to hide behind those concrete blocks.
And those concrete blocks really were the saviors of a couple of teams. So unfortunately for VIP, it wasn't enough when you're going to get sandwiched in between different teams. And then this is just the last fight where Stairway just came in and just stormed the front. You can see them 2-2 split on that, just pushing in and be like, all right, let's clean house. We'll take these two players, you take that one player, and let's get this finished. And that's exactly what they did with taking out Esports Orig as the last player. And I think that was, overall, that's definitely my favorite game so far, purely down to Black Flag doing so well. And just their sort of play style, I think that was great. I think 222 Elite, I'm going to say, like, I'm going to criticize them on that front. They didn't do well enough in that situation. They didn't keep an eye on where teams are coming in from the outside. Either way, we're going to talk more about this in a moment, Greg, because we're going to go hop over to a quick 2-minute break, and we're going to be back very shortly.
Tom, mate, I tell you what, that was a thriller. That really was down to the wire action, flanks, kills, grenades, the lot. And now we're going into game 3 where we've got another map coming your way. It's going to be Kalahari.
I'm excited. Like I said, I think this is probably one of my favorite maps at all. It just gives me that sort of vibe of people playing a little bit harder, a little bit faster. And I think we're going to be seeing that out again, especially with Black Flag performing like they did. Bad Smile, Lewis Tanos, they've got a lot to prove right now. CHR, they went out in 5th position. So I think they've still got to come back in a little bit harder. They're in that 1st position, but it's definitely not cemented for success right now. They still got far to go. And I mean, when it comes to these other teams, like Stay Away, when they can play like they did at the end of last game, I'm worried like they could definitely take this on.
Yeah, and you've got to think as well, maybe having a little bit more of a core focus on some of these underdog teams rather than looking at Bad Smile and CHR and seeing if damage can continue to come through into some of these later games or going into game 3 and game 4. But we have seen so far that the respected favorites have done well, maybe not so much in the kill count in game 2, but in terms of the placings. And I think that's maybe something that we can expect going forward is your Bad Smiles and your CHR to be in that top 6 position. But I'm waiting for some of these teams to go on some big killing sprees, seeing some of the lower end teams getting sort of 8, 9, 10 kills plus, because that's what the action's all about.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, I really want to see these real killing sprees come down. I mean, Black Flag getting those 10 kills, that's big. Like I thought it was 8 because they managed to wipe out 2 teams, which is so impressive. Like most teams don't actually manage to do that across like 2 games. For what we've seen, I mean, like Triple 2, they've done pretty much nothing so far. INV have done a little bit better, but even then a little bit lackluster. Lewis Tanos and Bad Smile, they've done decently, nothing too over extraordinary. But these CIS teams, they have shown that, yeah, okay, give us attention because we're going to be here. And then like the other region as well, I mean, they're doing fairly well and being able to prove themselves, like obviously from the Black Flag point of view. So let's see how the game, the pace of game is going to go. I think after this one, as I've sort of said multiple times, I think the first 3 games are going to be the sort of pace setters, and then we're going to be seeing sort of harder and faster gameplay going into the second half of today.
Now, Tom, I don't believe we have seen the grenade launcher just yet. Is that one of your favorite weapons in the game? Are we waiting to see this?
It's not. I hate it. I hate it to death. I think it's a horrible gun because it's so effective. But I only hate it. It's more of a meme gun in my opinion. I think. Okay. I think it's. So I mean, you've seen some of the grenade kills. You obviously saw that 3-man takedown with 1 nade from Stay Away. Now imagine a gun that can shoot further and more specific, like targeted. Doing that kind of damage. That's exactly what the situation is. And as soon as you know a team's in a building or something, just shoot a couple of grenades in there with the grenade launcher from a safer distance, you're fine. So I think I am interested to see it come through. It does create some interesting dynamics. It changes up the scoreboard, and it means the players who risk and go and get one of the care packages do get rewarded for it. I don't think the AWM is as beneficial, or the AUG Groza. I think it's definitely one of the better ones as well. Either way, let's move on from that, mate. Let's go into the game.
Alrighty, well, it looks like the plane path heading down towards the southwest position. And again, very similar to how Game 2 panned out. Not many teams being very centralized when it comes to the map. Spreading out pretty much on all accounts. It seems like only Black Flag and Bad Smile that are towards the central here.
Central spot is very important, but when you're so close to each other, this is so dangerous because then it's just a game of RNG, who can get a gun fastest to try and get some of these kills. And Bad Smile seem to be in a better position as far as actual buildings go. But let's have a look on the floor here. Overfear trying to just run away, trying to find a gun, and it does seem they have managed to get one between them, but that is not enough to be able to face off against Bad Smile in this situation. So they're looting these crates, but this is just there isn't actually much loot around here, so they have to be very careful. This is actually somewhere where Bad Smile have done very good on before in around this area, so they should be fairly well versed in playing at this spot. But first shot's going to be coming out. It's going to be Bad Smile shooting a bush. But that's going to be it. Nothing too much else is going to happen right now.
And especially with the amount of players from Overfear without too many weapons, this could be a pretty good chance here coming out for the Bad Smile side. I say that, but already a knock and a kill coming through for Remind. Great stuff coming through from the Overfear side, who are currently ranked pretty high up. They're currently in the 5th position. They haven't had too many kills, especially in the early game. So to be able to take down a big member from that Bad Smile side, that's a very, very good start coming out from Overfear.
I just want to face palm at that situation because that is
happened
not.
again.
I mean, come on, Bad Smile. Like, don't take the piss. You need to play a little bit better than this. So, and they're walking into the team that slapped other teams apart last game. Bad Smile did wipe them out last game. In the end, in sort of 8th position. But now we're going to be seeing a direct fight. They're just standing next to each other. There we go. Bad Smile's eventually going to be able to pay some attention to them, but QF is just going to be sort of falling down the wayside, or Crix rather. And that was just a terrible gameplay. I'm gonna have to figure that up with them over Discord later on because that was a stupid gameplay. Jaska's going to be able to take down this player as well, leaving Bad Smile potentially down to 2 players very early on because he's just trapped out in the open. I'm going to call it as
This
it
is
That's stupid.
It's kind of ridiculous, right? That you think that for Black Flag, who was on such a killing spree in that last game, that for Bad Smile, they're taking early fights. We saw them do that in game 2 against the Lewis Tanos side, where they lost that early player, and now I think they're only down to 1 left. That was not great at all coming out for the French side, and after such a fantastic game 1, things could really spiral out of control for them.
I think it really has. Like after the player style at the end of at the start of last game, and then the fact that they've done that. And the reason why I was fairly brutal and just calling it straight up stupid was because he just ran straight past the player, and then he turned around, didn't shoot at him in time. So then he was third partied, and his teammate was like, "Yeah, no, I'm out of here, mate." Like he didn't even get the finish on that player, so it's a complete waste of time. We are going to be seeing a firefight now between Overfear and Black Flag, and they're not even probably going for each other. You can see that they're not going full in and sort of overextended, and there's only Rojan who's left here to try and watch the back of his team as they back away, which I think is fairly clever. I mean, he was in a decent position to backstab them, and Overfear aren't sort of extending on them either. They have got Rojan actually stuck behind this, and I don't know if they realize he's there or not, but he's not going to be able to do too much there. Meanwhile, in the top right, you can see 222 do manage to get a knock and a finish on a player. BHR going to be coming in. We can see this sort of widespread sort of view across these 2 teams. I really don't expect him to fight because it's not the clever thing to do. They don't need to. Syria, though, is going to be met with shift. If he's not careful, he's going to have a team right next to him.
We've seen both of these 2 teams being very, very aggressive when it comes to the fights, looking to try and get up close and personal between one another. And for Stay Away, just trying to snipe at a little bit of a distance here, seeing if they can get anyone around these walls or even try and take those walls down.
Did you look how many walls?
Barca. Yeah, there is a lot of walls going up in the early game.
And we have mentioned before that it's going to be very bad, but it's going to be Lewis Tanos getting 1 knock, so even the second one as well. This is looking very bad. Stay Away looking to continue on their massive killing spree from the end of last game into this one as well. They walked away with 12 kills. Now they're looking to try and pick up a couple of extras here as well, and they're just going to be playing fully aggressive. These guys behind temporary walls, and they're going to get knocked again and again. This could potentially be the end of one of the EU teams. I think they've got 1 member left standing, and that's them. Is that them?
I'll tell you what. Yeah,
quite tell.
Like, this is over, surely.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1 person left, and he's going to... wait, is he even here? No, so the last Lewis Tanos player somehow managed to get out, I think.
Okay.
I don't know where he is, but...
Just ran away? Just like left your teammates being like, yeah, we're not going to win this fight. I might as well just wait and just see you later. That's how it happened.
Apparently he's the 1 smart player in their team. I'll say I'll be as brutal as that. I mean... This is twice in a row, early game, we've seen like really low IQ players coming in from these teams. I mean, we'd have to see a replay of exactly what happened there, but when it comes down to it, it seemed like they just really fell into each other's arms and were just stuck in the open and were sort of punch fighting. Now we're going to be looking at Rebirth taking on Esports Auric, who are so close next to each other, and it's going to be Rebirth wiped out in 12th position. Lewis Tanos managed to survive to at least the 11th spot, if not more. Oh, this is... I mean, what, Bad Smile are down to 2 or sort of one people right now. Lewis Tanos are down to 1. 222, I think, have managed to get at least 1 kill with no sort of revenge kills on them. So, Europe or EMEA, what are you doing?
It's a little bit disappointing, for sure, that we've seen a couple of these European teams really struggle in the early game, and I think some of the decision making certainly has not been on point like it was in game one. I think for both Lewis Tanos and Bad Smile, just don't take those opening fights because they've just not been winning them out. Black Flag is now looking to try and take a bit of an exchange out here towards Overfear. There is a lot of players starting to crossfire between one another.
Crossfire is going to be coming in very painfully. Black Flag looking to do a lot of damage, but the reverse knock should be coming down on Jaski. He's only got like 5 HP, trying to heal up a little bit, runs in closer to the wall, trying to get some positions, but he's going to, in turn, get 180'd by a player, knocked down. BF going to be looking to revive each other as well, but the same could be said for Overfear, who are going to be down to, oh, they actually have, oh yeah, they've just lost a player, so they're going to be down to 3 players now. Black Flag is going to be in the same situation. Stuck in a building as one of the players are going to get knocked. It's going to be 3 kills on the side of Overfear so far. Remind's going to get knocked as well. Snacks is trying to find an angle on Black Flag, but the finish on this member of Overfear is going to come through. So these guys are going to have to be very careful, but there's going to be a player from Black Flag who just walked straight into their line of fire, but he managed to do a lot of damage himself. Are they going to be able to come out on top on this one? No, Black Flag are going out in 11th position from kill leaders, or almost kill leaders last game, to going out in 11th position. That's going to be very painful. I think they managed to get about 3 kills that game, so that's going to be very disappointing. But Overfear going to be going down to 2 players, but 5 kills total.
Tom, do you think they know how to stand still, this BF lineup? I mean, we're in a position where they're in a 2 versus 2. Things are looking pretty decent for them. And then all of a sudden, rather than trying to play out the time and seeing if you can get a bit of an angle to work with, they're just rushing forward. They're rushing straight into the Overfear side. And in the end, I think this hyper-aggression style from Black Flag is very, very risky. It can either work out fantastically or not work out at all.
And you know what these young kids say, that sort of YOLO lifestyle, just charging in heads first, get some of these kills. And I mean, you can't say it hasn't worked out for them in the last game. This game, not so much. We're going to be seeing CHR going to be joining in. They were a little bit of a disappointment last game. This time round, they have a title to sort of defend that #1 spot, so they can make sure they get into the top 6 at the end of the day. I think they've got it in them. Overfear right now are going to be down to 1 player. I don't think we're going to be seeing over an aggressive play from these guys, but from oh, never mind. Overfear actually, he's down to 4 HP. He'd actually run away from his teammate. Instead of rezzing him, he just tried running away. That was actually a mistake.
Yeah, maybe. I'm guessing the only reason behind that was just realizing that it was already over and that the best way was to continue forward without reviving. But yeah, look, I'll tell you what, we're seeing a lot of simple mistakes, I want to say, Tom, coming out from both of these teams. We saw there from Overfear, they were just caught so far out in the open. Walls were coming up. Snacks was down to, I think it was 3 HP before the health started to come back. And now for Esports Org, we've already seen 3 kills from them. They're looking now to try and take some fights onto IVN.
Yeah, I think they're really hungry. They got to, what, 3rd position last game?
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, 2nd. They managed to get 2nd. Like Overfear or like Rebirth didn't actually manage to get that sort of spot. It was actually Esports Org who managed to stay alive by snaking in a corner. INV, another sort of EMEA team who we've not really had too much to say about because they've just not done too good. They're going to get faced by 222 Elite, who so far have managed to get 2 kills, 0 deaths on their side, and they're going to be pushing in hard. Grenades going out left and right and center, but Pedro's going to get knocked himself. Refuse going to be chucking in a fantastic couple of grenades here to try and finish them. And they may well be able to get one of the knocks there. There we go. David as well going to get knocked. It's going to be Alex pushing down, trying to get the finish here, but he's going to be stuck behind the wall with one of the members of 222 right on his back, trying to get the kills, but it's going to be INV Daniel managing to get one of the finish on one of the players. And now it's going to be Afonso and Refuse trying to back out from this if they can. Although they're just going to be staying straight in the action, pushing down, taking on INV, knocking them out, and that's going to be a kill. INV going out in 9th position. And they're the kill leaders now, 222.
Oh my goodness, we are seeing some of the underdogs really start to come alive now. We've seen some disappointing stuff from 222 over the last couple of games, and now they have really stepped up, completely overwhelming the INV side, and they were doing damage. There was health regens coming through, but in the end, holding on to 3 players still alive. Now Shift are trying to come into the action. 222 Elite, this is going to be a tough exchange because Shift, we've seen how aggressive they've been in these plays.
I mean, Triple Two have just come off the back of a massive fight where they had to wipe a whole team. They lost the player. They've used a lot of their utility, and some of the nades are already going to be doing a lot of damage. It's going to be DVL, the first one in the building. He's going to face some damage on himself. Alfonso trying to get some grenades out here, stop them from being able to push up so easily. They're in a really good spot right now. Unless a grenade managed to do a lot on them. I think that was a distraction. I'm not quite sure what he even threw out the window there, because it wasn't a grenade. I think it might have been a glue wall or something. We'll have to wait and see. And things have chilled down a little bit. Shift realized that charging in wasn't the best idea. They're going to be backing off because it's going to be them versus esports, and it's going to be DVL stuck in the open, and Alfonso just missing shot after shot, and it's going to be Grust taking him down instead, and they've managed to blow down the wall, but it was Grust who gets the kill on esports side. Esport Orig. Triple Two now going to be in a much better position when it comes to, they've got no enemies inside their building. Shift have moved away. They're down to 2 players. THR going to be coming in as well. This is one of the final circles coming through. David with the sniper looking to get some of the headshots as soon as they peek their head up. And there we go. He managed to get a knock. Oh, I wish you could wallbang through that metal, but alas, you can't.
Man, they've got the information that there's at least 2 players, right? Because you've got to think as soon as that res comes up, they'll know that there's 2 players in that clock tower sniper's nest. But look, so far for Esports Org and Triple Two Elite, they've been in some very good positions. And you've got to think as well, Tom, with the circle starting to close in, having the high ground and actually having cover over some of these buildings is really going to help some of, or for them to deal with some of the rotating teams coming in to sort of get a bit of a gateway in the way.
For sure. I think being able to have a very sort of steadfast color on that front instead of just having to use your glue walls is going to give you a massive advantage over anyone else. Talking about everyone else, we have got CHR pushing in on the circle. VIP as well. Bad Smile going to be right on shift right now. I think that's, I can't quite see which player that is. Die right there. Last member alive on his team, if I'm right in saying. I'm not quite sure what happened to Lewis Tanos, but either way, we're going to be seeing CHR taking some shots. Taking down Twister from Stay Away, and it's going to be the finish on him on that as well. Shift now going to be in the storm, having to push through their build and potentially into the line of fire for a couple of teams. Oh, you can see them getting knocked there. CHR and Esports just doing a massive amount of damage. VIP going to get knocked as well. There's just going to be a really good gameplay from a lot of these teams. With Shift going to be down to 1 player now, Cortez, who's going to be stuck in the storm. He's going to have to heal up a little bit and just play around this edge. As soon as he gets spotted, he should go down. And that is Stay Away going out in 7th position. That's nuts. I thought they'd be doing a lot better than that.
There's still so many teams and so many players still alive. The big advantage that Esports Org have in this sort of situation, Tom, is that they've got the building covered. Shift now going down to a Triple Two Elite, doing some really great damage. Now just down to 12 players alive. And for Esports Org, 6 kills for their name and still 4 players alive. They could be setting themselves up for victory.
I just want to add in here, we can't quite see on the map, but Bad Smile are in a fight right now, and he's going to get taken out by Triple Two Elite, who managed to get another kill for themselves. They're going to be going really high up on the scoreboard compared to their current 12th position. They've got the circle advantage as well, which they're going to be pushing out on Esports Orig. Angel, he's got a position on VIP, looking to take him out. He misses his shot. He's going to be going in for another one. He can't quite land them. He's now going to be doing a massive amount of damage, knocks him out of the game, gets another position point, set of points for his team, but now the Storm is going to be chunking away on his HP. He's going to be meeting with a lot of trouble as he runs in the open, tries to get down a glue roll, but it's just not going to work for him, as seemingly his teammates are trying to do a lot of damage, getting a knock, but that's going to be them out in 3rd position. Now we're going to be down to the last 2 teams, CHR and Triple Two Elite, and that is a booyah to Triple Two Elite. GG, well played. Have to give them massive props for that.
Oh, what a massive booyah coming out for Triple Two Elite, who have been, Tom, in last place from 12th place to come all the way back with a booyah. And not only do they place in 1st, but they found a lot of kills, which is really going to help their points tally. And you know what? Some surprises there. We saw a couple of teams going down to like 6th or 7th when we were getting to like 14 players alive. So there were a lot of squads with only 1 or 2 players. We saw for Esports 222, or Triple Two Elite, I should say, having, what, 4 players alive at one point. What an unbelievable change-up that's been from them. Another big underdog upset when you think of how the points tally has gone throughout the course of Game 1 and Game 2.
They just like pushed straight into a building against Iron V, and they wiped them out. It was very well played by them. I mean, they were down to sort of 3 players, but still, Shift pushed up against them. They killed one of the players and managed to... actually, them and Esports already managed to take out one of the players, and they just managed to hold on to their spot in very close to the circle. So when it came down to it, they didn't have to rotate too much. They managed to hold on to that physical cover that you sort of talked about as we're going into that last couple of circles. And this is a really sort of interesting ending where half of it was in cover, half of it wasn't. The teams that didn't get early position really then got screwed. I mean, Esports Org had to try and push out in the open, got taken out, and then we saw CHR trying to push in and taking out 222 Elite. Just didn't quite happen. And you mentioned a couple of sort of single player teams there, like Bad Smile. Unfortunately for them, they tried sneaking in the building with 222 Elite, and they weren't having any of it. They weren't having any cockroaches there, so they stomped him out and forced him out. I think it was in 5th position.
And another sort of interesting point I think you made in the pregame to the start of the broadcast was how Vastamundo was so far ahead of all the competition in the European qualifier. I thought that we might see that after seeing game 1 and already seeing the points tally being really far ahead. We've now got to a moment where some of the favorites going into game 2 and game 3, I feel like there's going to be a lot of reshuffling, a lot of teams going up and down from that top 6 position, and it gives me a lot of excitement going forward that maybe we might not know who are kind of top 3 of the 6 are going to be until right at the end if this continues.
If 222 can continue on this, then great, but they had to get that win, and they had to get those kills, because they were on 6 points, if I remember correctly, which is really, really bad. They got 0 points from the first game, and then they only collectively obviously got a small amount of points over the following 2 games. Game, and then in that third one, hopefully they managed to do very well. I mean, they obviously got a minimum of 20 points plus the kill points. So when we do go into that, I don't expect them to be in the top 6 on that. I think maybe 6th position, but I realistically think more likely 7th or 8th position. But that's setting them up. That's setting them up to go through and continue on. They've now had 3 games under their belt. Like a lot of these other teams, they have the opportunity to be able to progress and sort of increase their score line. I think Black Flag, after that performance in that game, we may not see them continue on that streak. I did say it was going to be very hard for them to stay that consistent. They did fall a little bit short at that start there. They did manage to take out a lot of the BDS members, but when it came to the sort of mid and end game, they really fell apart.
And kind of having a look at some of the stat sheets of 222 Elite, we saw in game 1, they came out in 12th place. They got absolutely no kills. Go into game 2, they go 8th, and they get 2 kills. And then you come into game 3, you come 1st, and it was 10 plus kills at least for that team. So in terms of the points, they've gone from really far down the ladder to, probably pushing themselves up towards that top 6 position. And at least for Bad Smile, right, in game 3, considering how many players they lost in the early game, they actually stayed alive. At least that last player of Die, like you said, was trying to get into the house of where the contest was coming in from Esports Org. At least the squad, or at least the individuals, stayed alive for long enough to get a relatively high placing. But I'd have to say another disappointing performance coming out from the French side.
Yeah, they really need to sort of pull their socks up, as it were, as a sort of a very British saying, but they really need to pull their thumb out as well and sort of just really play a little bit better. There was a lot of dumb decisions, and I was fairly brutal, because it's just how I like to be. I mean, if you're going to be making these mistakes,
say it how it is.
I'm going to call you out for it. This isn't a small tournament or friendly tournament. This is a big boy tournament on this run, or big gal tournament, where you're playing for your share of $300,000. This is no joke. So you have to take it seriously, and I just don't know if I get that feeling for Bad Smile so far today. They've just not played well enough compared to the first set of games where I saw them last month and the month before, where they played really well. And I just want to say, so far, every top team that have won today have had sort of an average of 12 kills or close to, whereas no other team throughout any of those games has sort of really broken that mark, apart from I think Black Flag on the game before. So I think it's kind of a pattern that's coming in, that any of the teams that come in that first spot are also going to get a bunch of kills, and there's no repeat offenders who are getting first place twice so far.
Oh, here comes a little bit of a shift, actually. So Esports Org now going up to 3rd, Overfear dropping down. VIP, for a team that have only got 7 kills, are actually pretty much on the brink of trying to make top 6. I mean, you talk about the limited amount of kills. Have a look at Bad Smile as a big example, sort of criticizing some of their aggressive duels in losing opening players. They've only got 5 kills, Tom, but they're still in 4th.
4th place, 5 kills. It's kind of not what you'd expect, but when you have got one of the players, and I will give them some positive feedback on that, being able to have that last player who sneaks in and get that sort of 5th position is so crucial. I mean, the point difference between fifth and sixth. I think it's sort of 2 point, like just maybe even 1 point, but still, it's a crazy one there. I mean, I'll just even confirm it right now. So I mean, that fifth and sixth spot, that's 2 point difference. So if he'd gone out any earlier, they would have had 50 points instead, which then only separates them by 2 from 2 Elite.
It certainly it makes a big difference, and I think maybe one of the red herrings you can maybe say is have a look at Black Flag, right? 15 kills for them, but yet sort of down. Still, I don't know if you can say in contention for top 6. I think we need to see a little bit more from them. I've been loving their aggressive playstyle, but I certainly thought that in game 3 they got kills. They still got 4 kills in that last game, but not a very high placing. And that's one of the things, that you may be a team that is very firepower heavy, very much looking to be a threat in the kill department, but at the same time, it's that risk versus reward. Yeah, you might be able to get the points with the kills, but you also need to try and get the high placings.
Yeah, that sort of consistency comes into matter, where sure, you can get a bunch of kills, but unless you get those 10 kills I've mentioned a couple of times where you then get the 20 points, it's very hard to be able to really try and argue that position doesn't matter. You have to play through the end game. You have to play for that spot where you can actually get that. And let's take a look at the highlights here, mate. I think some of these are going to be fairly painful to watch, but either way, there's still going to be a couple of hot ones. I think this fight was fairly amusing. I mean, Black Flag just going full YOLO. They just didn't care. They were just like, all right, we're just going to go full YOLO, jump in through, and as you can see, slapped down by Overfear.
Yeah, that was risky, to say the least. Great nade placement coming up from 222 Elite there. We saw Iron V, who already had control of the building, just got completely overwhelmed. Alex even got caught on the wall there, so just stuck right in the open. Meant that it was some pretty easy trades coming forward for the 222 side. And you even look at the positions in the building itself. You can see Daniel on the outside of the building still trying to get in while his teammates have already been knocked down. They are able to overwhelm. They hold on to the building for pretty much the entire time until the circle gets really down to the wire, and then they have to start to leave. Really nice play here from Esports Orig too, to catch players off, trying to get into the zone itself, but it just got down to chaos. And when you have a look at 222 Elite, they just had the better terms of positioning.
Yeah, they had the hard positioning, they had the sort of knowledge of where other sort of teams are, so as these teams are trying to push in, 222 Elite were just able to finish them off with the help of CHR, but because CHR decided to take some of these frags on themselves, they actually gave away their spot and allowed 222 to be like, okay, cool, so we'll just finish you off and we'll win the game and take an extra 20 points. And I think that's really good. I think, like, fair play to 222 Elite. They have managed to make it into 5th spot, so my math on broadcast wasn't quite right, so they have actually done a really good job on that front. I mean, they were at, here, let me see, 48 points in total. CHR, they're on 91. Like, that is insane. Like,
yeah,
they're 29 points or like ahead of the closest team. Stay away. EMEA are just nowhere near to be seen at the top.
And you've got to think too, like for CHR, they're going to have some really poor performances in the next few games if they want to get off the top. Like, you would even have to say at this point, with 91 points, and you even look at Overfear in 6th, who currently have 45, like something has to go seriously wrong for them to even get out of the top 6, let alone get off in the top position. They have to come in like last place, no kills. Like, they've given themselves such a foundation going forward that I don't want to say that they can kind of like take their foot off the pedal. Obviously, they still need to give it 100% right up until the end, but they've already built themselves such a great lead that pressure's got to be off for these guys.
Yeah, I think being able to now just be able to chill out and be like, okay, let's just carry on. We just need to play a bit consistent. I'd probably say for them, they realistically want to be able to get a minimum of like 50 into like sort of probably like 20 points per game, and like that doesn't seem like a problem. I mean, last game they ended up getting, I'll just confirm, 31 points, 7 kills, 2nd place. Like that's insane on that front when it comes into the fact that they weren't present during that game that much. We didn't talk about them that much. They weren't like a hot team where there was like massive fights left, right, and center. So they didn't get like 11 kills, but they still actually get 7. And I think 2 of those were right at the end there from Esports Orig, who managed to get 8 kills in themselves and 31 points as well with the 3rd place. So I think it's really impressive from CHR, and I probably place money on saying that they will make it into the grand finals from this game style. But we have got 3 games. And each one of these teams, every single teams that are playing today, I think has a chance to be able to turn this around. And 222 Elite have proven that. They went from 12th to 5th. But what more can I say?
And thinking about turning around, I kind of want to look at a little bit more of a negative aspect. And having a look at the Bad Smile team, we saw them place 3rd in Game 1, 5th in Game 2, and now 6th. Like, are we expecting a downwards trajectory from these guys? Like, although they are still in the top 6, their results have been going downhill. We saw it at the points tally, only 5 kills for these guys. They've been very, very passive because a lot of the time they've been losing so many plays in the early game.
If they continue on like they have done in the last game or the game before that, I don't have hope for them. They really do have to make a big turnaround and follow 222 Elite's gaming, because so far I would actually say overall they've played better, even though they're not as high on a leaderboard. They're only 2 spots away from the same 1 spot away from the same spot as Bad Smile, and 222 in 12th position. So I think that says a lot about Bad Smile. They may have been able to get sort of a fairly consistent sort of positioning in the sort of top 5, but 5 kills for the team that came 3rd in the Premier League, just not good enough.
Yeah, and this is a moment to turn it around. I mean, while we've got this little bit of a break in between the games, right, this could be a bit of an opportunity, Tom, for maybe even the coaches to kind of step in and say, right, this is what we need to do in the early game. This is what we need to be doing in the mid game. And having a look at this playing path out towards the southward position, I'm wondering whether we're going to see more teams being centralized. It seems like that's at least a play coming out from Luis Tanos.
Hopefully so, because I mean, as soon as you play sort of center of the map and of the playing line, you're able to get a really solid one. And the fact that, okay, these teams are spreading out really nicely. Unlike last game where we saw really sort of close proximity between Bad Smile and Black Flag, we are actually seeing a bit of a spread here, where we're actually going to be able to have them have their own towns, their own freedom. Although Rojan on Black Flag at the top of the map, that has taken a little bit far. He's really far away from any of his teammates.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you here, Tom, like in a position where you've got a pretty centralized playing path where it's not really leaning towards one side of the map or the other, is it worth going for some really widespread control in looting? Because it is going to affect you surely when it comes down to these later circles starting to close in.
For sure. I mean, you need to be able to try and pick as much of this utility up, and we've seen that affect a couple of these teams where they have been restricted on their sort of like their loot in early game, and they've just not then had many grenades or glue balls either. So then it really has sucked for them later game, because they've just not been able to play as effectively as you'd want as a team, especially in the end game. Or if you're getting sieged, you really need to have those walls to block upstairs or to chuck grenades into building if you're pushing it, or vice versa. And I think we have seen teams suffer on that front. I mean, you can just look right now. Joke, he's very much on his own in this sort of central position in the crate area, and this is on Bermuda, so we're obviously repeating the first map now. So we're into the second half of the games, guys. Like this is a crucial time for these guys to get all the loot they can, and I think you're right. They really need to be able to do that sort of widespread looting to get as much as possible.
And I think as well, right, we've seen a lot of teams actually using these glue walls pretty early on in the sort of first couple of early circles, which is a little bit surprising to me rather than trying to hold on to them as late as possible. Yeah, we still have seen a fair few of them going up in that sort of last circle with 10, 15 players still alive. But it certainly seems like for a lot of these teams in these initial fights, they're trying to put up as many as possible.
Yeah, I'm just trying not to be too harsh, but I mean, if you look at Luis Tanos, they tried putting up about like 20, and it still didn't save them. They're still 3 men down straight away. So, I mean, you can use as many walls as you want early on a late game, but it really depends on how you're going to be able to position it. We're going to be seeing some shots coming out early. I did miss who that was. It's going to be Stay Away shooting down onto Shift here, and Shift have to do a little bit better because they didn't end up doing that well in the last game overall. They were sort of wiped out by 222 Elite and Esports Original.
Yeah, they are pretty out in the open, at least for a couple of these players. They do have a few teammates that are in some building coverage, which is going to help them try and take some fights from a fair distance from this stay-away camp. But I say that, look how aggressive Bass is trying to get here, and at least for Shift, they're kind of out in the open now.
Out in the open and ready to engage some teams. They have to be so careful. Twister is in a good position to be able to get some shots in here. It's going to be Bonfig taking down one of the members with Twister following up onto Cortez. This is going to be a revive on one of the members. There you go. Shift going to be able to pick up DV out. Oh, we're going to be seeing some grenades coming in here. Shadio can't quite make it outside, but it doesn't matter so much because that was actually his teammate. Apparently, Stay Away going to be pushing in. It's going to be Shadio getting the first kill for himself, and that's going to be a double knockdown. They have got Cortez, who is knocked on their side as well. They have to be very careful. They spotted out, I think, one of the last members of Stay Away right now, just trying to glide away. He is, and Twister, he's going to be getting taken down, and that is out in 12th position, the earliest wipe we've seen. And I think this is the change of gameplay we were talking about at the very start of the day. We're into the second half of the games, and so far we've seen a lot more aggression coming out.
They're second, Tom. They're second in the rankings. Stay Away going down so early on to Shift. And we have seen it countless times in Game 2 and Game 3. Early, strong opposition being very, very limited. And you've got to think that that is a huge advantage coming out from Shift because they're right down on the bottom of the leaderboards. The CHR regrouping together. Doesn't seem like there's too many oppositions in sight, but for Shift, that is a great start from them. They've got to be really happy about things.
What is going on? What is this guy doing?
I don't know.
We've talked about CHR just not even really caring about having to worry about their position, but I think that was a little bit too careless. The vehicle's going to be coming in. They're going to be blown up, so they're going to have to jump out of it. Lewis Tanos doing a good job on taking out some of the vehicles, but using a lot of their ammo there, so they have to be careful on utilizing ammo. And when it comes to the rank, and we'll get back into that in the moment, because it's actually just going to be a bit more of a firefight over at Clocked Tower between VIP, Esports Original, and Lewis Tanos, who are sneaking up the water channel here, the river, if you want, to try and join in on this fray. And this is where we saw Bad Smile on the first game being very close to Esports Original. So this indicates to me that Bad Smile actually gave up this position and moved away. So that's some tactics there and keeping up with what's going on. And CHR actually just lost that player who zoomed across the map. Not the smartest decision.
Oh, that's a fair bit of damage coming on to Lewis Tanos. They're really stuck in the open here from two different sides. You've got a team out towards the clock tower, and you've got VIP that are even trying to see if they can spot out some of these individuals. The more that they're able to separate this unit, the better it will be. The airship's approaching, and we're already not too many fights coming in. We've seen 4 players, or 5 players, I should say, go down so far. Overfair got complete control of this area. And we have seen, like, at least for a few sides so far, Tom, out sort of in the open. CHR actually getting a player knocked down. This actually might be Mers going down. He was one of the players, especially in Game 1, that was the MVP.
This whole map has already shaken up the whole of the scoreboard massively. With Stay Away going down, who are in second position, they only had 2 points ahead of Esports Original and only 10 points ahead of Bad Smile. And Triple Loot, they were like, I think, what, 14 points away or like 16 points. So this is going to change the whole pace of the leaderboard, where it's going to be even it up a lot more. And for a team like Overfear, they need to get as many points as they can as well. I mean, they were quite sort of low down. Well, I say low down, they're in 6th position, but they need to really secure that spot, as they only had 45 points, which is 5 ahead of VIP.
And you've got to think, too, if CHR are another team that goes down really early on, that is going to change a lot of complexion for the teams towards the bottom end of the top 6 to maybe get a little bit of reshuffling going on. At least for Bad Smile. You know what I'm a little bit pleased about this time around, Tom, is that they haven't lost anyone early. Now, there could be another exchange that we've seen countless times between Bad Smile and this Lewis Tanos lineup, but I am pleased that we haven't seen anyone go down from this French side just yet in any early fights.
I think we're going to see it, mate. CHR going to be down to 1 player, actually. Just seeing on top right, one of the players knocked himself with a nade. So this is going to be interesting. Hopefully we can flick back onto Bad Smile versus Lewis Tanos eventually. But 222 Elite going to be taking some shots. They've only got 1 kill so far, but they have everything to play for right now. Sitting in 5th position, just behind Bad Smile by a couple of points. This is a team I think we need to keep a sharp eye on, especially after their performance in last game. I am very concerned about Bad Smile and Lewis Tanos. I mean, 2 of the teams who want to do really well, and so far they've just been fighting each other, and it looks like that's going to be the same thing that happens, because they're so used to playing sort of same playstyle. And CHR, their last member, is currently fighting VIP.
Oh my goodness.
And they go out in the 11th position. That's crazy. I don't think they even managed to get 1 kill. So they're going to get, like, what, 2 points for this game?
I don't know how do you analyze the fact that the two top teams of CHR and Stay Away have been eliminated as the first two teams, Tom. Like, it's just unheard of to think how high up the rankings they are. And now they're the two teams that have gone out so early without really doing any damage in terms of kills.
I mean, if you're esports original right now, what are you thinking? You've seen both of these teams go out, and you're challenging in for that first spot. What do you do? Do you carry on playing aggressive, or do you think you just play passive in this clock tower?
I think you got to play passive, right? We've seen how well esports Oregon was able to do when they had the building advantage, especially when you get into the late circles. I think why risk it? We've seen the opening teams of Stay Away and CHR go down early by taking early fights. For esports Oregon, just try and stay passive, try and stay alive, and get your way up the ranking. I think doing the mistakes of what the other two teams have done that have failed with, don't make it a third time.
I don't think anyone's quite done what CHR have done. They sent one of their players shooting across the map in a very interesting fashion on the flying guitar to his death. He was one of the first players in the whole game to die. I think like maybe the 5th or 6th player. So I think that was a very interesting tactic. Definitely didn't work out like they had planned, unless it was, you know, they're just like, hey, we'll give some free points to some other people, make this a little bit more competitive. But then like Stay Away have gone down. If esports original go down, maybe we'll see Bad Smile go down, and then 222 Elite, then Overfear, and have the leaderboard drop off people in reverse. Although I was talking about it, Bad Smile, they have managed to take a knockdown onto Alex on INV, although it seems like he has just been revived instantly from INV, one of the other sort of European teams.
Yeah, not really too much cover here for INV. So instead of going towards where the shots were coming off from Bad Smile, they actually decide to regroup and play towards the edge of this circle, towards the hangar. Even for DVL, I mean, there's a position here. Actually, go back to this. Look at Shift. They might get completely overwhelmed. We've seen the aggression come out before from Black Flag. The walls are coming up, but they're continuing pushing.
Big push from their side. I mean, Black Flag have everything to play for here. If I double check, I mean, I think on their position on the leaderboard, it's still fairly healthy for them to be able to make up on the leaderboard. I mean, sitting in 9th position, they really have to get some more kills, and that's exactly what they're trying to do right now. Shooting in, doing a lot of damage to DVL, tags him down to half HP. Cortez from Shift, and one of the other players are really close in, and they're looking to try and back off, but Wayne's are going to be taking a lot of damage from the opposition here. Shadia trying to cover up his teammate, shooting from a distance with his AR, just an AK trying to spray out here, cause a little bit of suppression on these guys, stop them from being able to overpeak and really play aggressive, but I don't think that's going to be stopping Yasser here, who's just really hungry for some kills. And I mean, with that thermal scope and the AR, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. Oh, we're going to be seeing the shots coming in. Tommy Gun from Task taking them down. He's now just going to be pushing in. The revive has come through from the side of Shift, but it's not going to be enough. Cortez is going to be going back down. Yasser is just going to be looking to take another one. Takes him down, and this is just brutal. BF are just outplaying Shift in every kind of aspect. I think Shift are going to be going out very soon. They've only got 2 players standing right now with no way of being able to revive one of the players that is down. Oh, and that's another knock as well, and that's a finish. Wow, that was actually a 222 Elite coming in for a shot from distance.
I'll tell you what kind of surprised me too was how far Shadio was away from his teammates. It seemed like he was taking a really long duel to try and back up against the pressure from BF, but BF just did not stop. It kept coming and coming and coming, and they're all very close to one another. And again, one thing that Black F have done so well, Tom, is taking these squads out without losing players. It's happened like the 3rd or 4th time now.
I think they're going to be in a bit of trouble, though, because 222 are going to be coming in, and they've got the position on them, as well as they have the utility, so they have every opportunity to be able to take out this team. There you go. Yasir is going to get knocked out by Pedro, one of the top players so far on their side, and now they're going to be breaking down these walls, trying to break away their cover, using all their glue walls, and this circle is going to be closing in very shortly, and Black Flag are going to have very little cover to be able to play with. If any grenades come in here, they're going to be very much screwed. Pedro going to be trying to take a wide angle here. David, actually. Pedro just going to be continuing shooting, trying to knock them out. They've still got all their members, but I'm not quite sure for how long. That's a care package that's come in for Syria, if I'm right in saying. 222 probably have to be very careful and not overcommitting on this front. So it'll be interesting to see if they do stay here or if they decide to back away. They do have the sniper on Refuse, and that's something I'd probably go for here, just going for a couple of quick shots. Don't over-dedicate, wait for the storm to come in, force them to move, towards you. But they have everything to... Oh, this is 3 players. It's going to be Lewis Thanos, Mana. Martin's taken down one of the INV players. Basmal right next door to them as well. Alex realizes where one of those players is, puts up some cover just in time as Martin's looked to take some shots.
Oh, Martin's doing so much damage here for the Lewis Thanos lineup, but it seemed like for a moment there that Triple 2 Elite were actually going to come out on top, but it seems like now the kills are going back in favor of the Black Flag side, doing so much damage in terms of the knocks, and for Triple 2 Elite, they might be the next team to go down. Syria goes out, Lewis Thanos still trying to stay alive, and with just under 30 players left, the zone's starting to enclose in. Black Flag have got 5 kills and still 3 players up.
Pedro's going to be going out. They took on too much in Black Flag. Just going to be swatting them to the side, and they have to be careful. They can't stay outside here for too long. Groza on Drery on BDS. Basmar is going to be very useful. VIP going to be doing a lot of damage to INV in this compound. It's going to be 3 teams fighting amongst themselves. Basmar going to be coming in, looking in for Lewis Thanos. Dex is going to be trying to push in from behind, but he's going to be very low HP. Just going to be able to make it in here. He can currently see the players from Los Thanos in this building. He's going to be peeking around the corner momentarily, taking some damage from the blue. Oh, he chucks a nade in. That's perfect. He's now going to be charging in as well, looking to back this up and do some more damage, but we have got a potential third party from INV, but it's going to be Bad Smile taking down members of Lewis Thanos. With Lewis Thanos trying to back away from this fight, not trying to overcommit, but I don't think there's going to be too much they can do in this spot. VIP looking to take out INV. 2 very similar sounding names when you say it fast.
And it certainly seems like, Tom, we're seeing a lot of initial gunfights on the outskirts of the circle rather than right in through the center. We've seen, certainly for Bad Smile, they've been a team that have been able to get to the late game pretty regularly without finding too many kills. This time around, they found a little bit more success, but watch out for Overfear. They still have 4 very, very healthy players alive, and so does Esports Auric, who we haven't seen for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did exactly what you kind of suggested, is that they're going to play passive, because at the moment, they should actually be in first place. If unless Bad Smile stay alive for a long period of time and manage to get the win, I think Esports Original, they have every opportunity to be able to win this. Oh, Overfear. They should be spotted by this team. They have actually... well, actually, it's going to be INV getting taken out by Gruste with the sniper from a distance. 6 teams left. Every single one of these teams is going to get a bunch of points. Black Flag going to come under fire from Bad Smile, who are fighting multiple teams on multiple fronts. Sniper's going to be coming through as well onto the side of Overfear, I think. And Bad Smile making quick work of a couple of teams from a distance. It's going to be Black Flag going to get knocked out. Can't quite see who these guys are shooting at, but Esports Original going to wipe out VIP as well. But Bad Smile currently the kill leaders, and we're going to be down to 4 teams. These are massive amount of points for each one of these spots. So currently, Overfear have probably the best position. They're in a enclave here inside, well, just under Clock Tower. Bad Smile, meanwhile, are going to be stuck on the outside. Not going to have too much cover, but Esports Original going to have to run through the open right now, and they're going to get spotted by Rebirth, who are going to be able to take out one of their members, maybe even more. Can't quite see who's getting those knocks, but it's going to be Esports Original coming under massive contention from these players. It's going to be... I didn't see who that was, but Bad Smile coming in as well, helping to wipe out Esports Original. Hopefully we can see Bad Smile. They're just sitting in the center of the circle, mate. They should have everything to play with for. They're getting loads of kills. This could be them taking the first position. We're going to be down to the last 3 teams, maybe even 2 in a couple of seconds. Bad Smile now going to be pushing in. That's going to be Rebirth going down. Last player wiped out from existence, and now last team trying to stay alive, but unfortunately for them, there's a mass amount of players coming their way. It's going to be Bad Smile coming around the corner, and that's going to be an easy peasy lemon squeezy. Overfear going to get wiped in the massive booyah from Bad Smile. Like I said, that's all they needed to get into first place, and I think that may well be what we see.
And look, I tell you what, Tom, we gave them criticism. There's no doubt about it, but they stepped up when it counts. I think they really maybe looked back at Game 2 and Game 3 and went, you know what? Something's gone seriously wrong here. They were so much more passive in the early game like they were in Game 1, where we saw them placing second to CHR. And towards the end there, they had the positional advantage. That's what we saw happening to Triple 2 Elite in that Game 3, when everyone was coming in to get away from the storm, and they had the positional high ground. They were just in the middle, and they were were waiting. They were picking people off as they were coming in. We saw towards the end, 4 squads were alive and 15 players. So pretty much every 4 teams had 3 or 4 players still alive. But look, it seems like for the Frenchmen, they have come out on top, found their first victory, and that's really going to help their campaign because they had a very weak game 2 and game 3.
I mean, overall, they get 20 points as a minimum from the win. That they were only 30 points behind, or 29 points behind first place. So yeah, I think this is going to be a fairly solid push for them to be able to get up to that spot, or 30 points or whatever it is. But depends on their kills. And from that ending, as you're sort of saying, they were able to just pick people off left, right, and center. They managed to take out Lewis Thanos and a couple of other players, a few of Iron V. VIP, they did a lot of damage to as well. Rebirth, obviously, at the end there. And I just want to give credit to like Rebirth as well. Their knowledge of the map allowed them to find that enclave underneath Esports Original, which actually allowed them to have the advantage over that team and managed to get a further position into sort of second place rather than third or fourth. And I think Esports Original went out in 4th spot. So I think that's like a really good shout out for them. Esports Original as well, trying to get as high up on the leaderboard to try and retain their top spot. Maybe even first. Didn't happen though. I'm fairly certain Bad Smile should shoot up there.
And you've got to think, I think there were a few teams that obviously didn't win, but did very well. You think of Esports Org, there was a couple of big name teams that went down early on, like your CHR went down really quickly, and as well Stay Away. So getting rid of those 2 early teams made, at least for them, a chance to be able to really start to get those points going up. And as well for Rebirth, right? I think they were like 8th or 9th going into this game, at least getting some kills and a relatively high placing. That might just get them into the top 6 position. We'll have to wait until all those points come through. But certainly for some of the teams that weren't in the top 6, it's very, very crucial for them, and Rebirth in particular, to try and just get into that spot.
I'm so interested to see, because remember, Bad Smile went into this with 5 kills.
Yep.
So they had to have got more than 5 kills in that, just from
Definitely.
like, they took out Lewis Thanos, they took out a bunch of other people. If they don't get more than 5 kills from that, like, get out the server. Like, come on. You can't get a win and not get more than 5 kills. That's disgrace. So we'll see what they end up getting, but I have a good feeling. I don't know if they manage to get all the way up to first spot. We'll have to wait and see until the leaderboards come up in a couple of seconds. So I'm kind of biting my nails right now to try and wait and see who is going to be at the top. And you mentioned Rebirth. I think they did a really good job there. 222 Elite, they bit off too much, they can chew, then they could chew. And we see this time and time again for Black Flag. If they're kind of like pincered in a corner or like pushed on, they'll just like bite back and they'll slap you aside. And that's exactly what happened with 222. They also did it with the team before that as well, Shift, who they wiped out. And that just didn't even seem like it was competition. Shift were like a fly and they were swatted away. That's exactly how the gameplay kind of felt to me, with Black Flag just showing them no respect and just pushing them with a Tommy gun.
Yeah, I like that analogy. I mean, one thing we've certainly seen, right, over the last few games is the different play style when it comes to some of these regions. I think that the Arab teams have just been, like, so in your face. They've been so aggressive. Shift and Black Flag, like, every opportunity they've got of taking a squad, they're like, yep, let's do it. Let's just go for kills. And you have a look at some of the European teams, and yeah, maybe certainly in the last couple of games in the early round, we have seen a few of them being able to be pretty impactful, but it's been very passive for the European teams. And now having a look over at the Game Force standings, 10 kills. They have doubled the amount they got in Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3, Tom. What do you have to say about that?
About time.
I like
come on. Like, they have, it's been like they've been asleep and they finally just woken up and they're like, okay, we're meant to get kills? Okay, sure. All right, now I understand. But even then, 10, that's not that impressive overall. On average, I mean, like, most of the teams that have come first have okay, let me look. So 12 kills, 11 kills. So this is the lowest score in first place we've seen from any team. So although it is a good spot and a bunch of really good position to get, it's still also the worst first position scoreline we've seen. So still something to write home about, but overall you need to be a little bit careful on that front. CHR, so they must be joint first, surely. I mean, or actually first on the deciders. I'd have to get feedback on that because they've got 21 kills.
Yeah, look, I tell you what is one of the biggest surprises for me is Black Flag actually now getting into that top 6 position. They're a team that when you look at everyone else, they've got the most kills, Tom. They have got 22 between them, and it hasn't been the highest placings from them. I think the biggest they've been able to find was maybe that 2nd place in game 2. Outside of that, they've been sort of like outside of the top 6, but it's the kills that have really been able to shoot them up. We've seen Bad Smile now have a little bit of a contender between CHR, because certainly for the first couple of games, it seemed like for CHR, they was just so far away from everyone else.
CHR were just so, like you said, so far ahead. They had like a 30-point gap pretty much from most teams. And now it's down to pretty much a tiebreaker. And I think from like logic point of view, I think they are ahead of Bad Smile, I'd have to say. But I mean, on the leaderboard right now, they are ahead. So that's what we'll go with. So currently EU smashing the games and currently at the top of the leaderboard. I'll take that. We'll get some that certified later on. But you mentioned Black Flag. So that last game they got fourth position. Their second position was in game 2. Otherwise, they got 9th position in the 3rd game, and they got 11th position in the 1st game. So they've had mixed results, but having the highest amount of kills is a big thing. Like, they're a big achievement.
Yeah, and it is when you think about too for Black Flag, like they came in as the last position from the Arab qualifiers, that they came into it, and I think most people sort of wrote off the Arab teams by saying, yeah, maybe they can do a damage in a game here or two, but maybe their consistency hasn't been that great. You mentioned some of the high and low placings, but being the kill leaders, having the most out of any other team here, if they're able to really hold their weight, try and get into a top 6 position in game 5 and game 6, there is a very good chance that they can hold on to their position and be able to make top 6.
Oh, I mean, these highlights are going to be horrible. I mean, just look at Twister here. He's trying to get away on the side of stairway. He's like, I'm in a dinosaur uniform. Don't shoot me. But there's no chill from the side of Shift, who we then go on to, and they're getting absolutely slapped by the no chill guys from Black Flag. Definitely the Pirates of today, as they're just concentrating on frags right now, and it's doing a good job. They're in the top 6 right now, but they have to do a lot more to be able to maintain that. I think this was a really interesting fight. We obviously saw the fight from Black Flag versus Shift. Black Flag wiped out Shift, and then they went on to wipe out 222 Elite, who came in trying to contend with the same team. Meanwhile, Lewis Tanos versus Bad Smile, and this is a really good push coming in from Dex from the side, allowing him to be able to help his teammates, getting the finish on the player, whilst his teammates are pushing upstairs. And although Lewis Tanos or another European team, there is no chill. They want all these points to themselves, and Lewis Tanos managed to get one player to run away.
I think very disappointing coming out from Lewis Tanos when we think about how much of a threat they were in the qualifier, that they've now come into this. They're in last place. They've only managed to get 5 kills. They were certainly a serious contender to at least make top 6, you would assume, going into this. And now they're in a position where, like, they're just fighting for survival at this point. They're just trying to see if they can get up to that top 6 position, but that's going to be one hefty road ahead of them.
They're currently in 12th position overall, mate. But it's
tough.
Really bad, and they're down on. So they've only got 5 kills, and in regards to the actual total score, they've only got 33, which is the same as INV as well. They do have more kills than them, but that's like basically 1/3 of the top spot. So it's kind of disappointing on that front. Interesting to see what they can do, but we're gonna have to wait a couple of minutes as we're gonna go into a quick break, 2-minute break, and we'll be back into the next game, which is gonna be on Purgatory. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Free Fire Continental series, and this is going to be the EMEA stream. We're shouting for the boys of Lewis Thanos, INV, Bad Smile, and also 222 Elite, who have all been performing fantastically so far. And this is obviously going into the fifth map, which is going to be on Purgatory. Dreg, how's it going, mate? We've been doing this for a couple of hours now. It's been really good fun. Yeah. How have you found the action?
The thing is it's been so hit and miss for some of the top teams, and I feel as if like the teams towards like the middle of the pack, like your Rebirth and like Black Flag and Shift, have been like kind of consistent with the kill counts and things like that. But for the top teams, for your CHR, for Overfear, even getting Bad Smile in there, you just never know. You're like, oh, we're going into Purgatory now. Is it going to be them going out in 12th place? Are they going to be going out in first place? I feel like consistency's been a really rough point for some of these teams today.
You can just take a look at the scoreboard and it tells that story as a whole. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, let's look at the last team of every single game. So 222 Elite, first game they came last, second game was Shift, third game was Rebirth, fourth game was Stay Away. Stay Away were one of the top teams overall, so it was really interesting to see that. But it is time to go into the next map. It's going to be Purgatory, the 5th map, and the next one will be Kalahari. And let's have a look at this game. Let's jump straight into the action here, Dreg.
Oh, we've got a plane path out towards the west position, and a couple of teams dropping down towards the south, see VIP and LTS as well. But for the most part, it seems like there are a few teams heading towards the central area and the north. CHR and Stay Away are probably going to be the two teams I'm looking at the most, because they certainly have been the teams towards the top end of the rankings. And considering they're quite close to one another, I'm getting a little bit scared about that, Tom.
I'm just gonna like jump in here and say Brasilia. We currently have about 3 different teams in the very close proximity. First off, it's going to be a Rebirth coming up onto Shift, and this is good for the EU lads. I mean, we kind of want these guys to fight and take each other out, because we don't want any of them near the end of the game. Even if it's just 1 or 2 players from each side, that would be perfect. So we're going to be seeing some early combat, very similar to the last game, and it's going to be Shift going down first. DVL, he's going to get knocked. It's going to be Gonzo coming in from the side, looking to do a lot of damage, takes down Cortez. It's going to be 2 down on the side of Shift. The return fire, the 180 shot from Gonzo is going to be doing a lot of work, but not quite enough. Doesn't quite take him down. It's going to be a 2 versus 1 firing situation in this spot. Last member of Shift looking to try and stay alive. I just don't think he can do it. Nope. And he's eliminated. First blood and 4 kills going to the side of Rebirth, and what a disappointing performance from Shift. And Rebirth trying to come up from the 9th position in total, and Shift were in 10th. 2 teams directly contending for that top 6 placements.
And we saw, especially in that last game, Tom, how Rebirth were sort of really passive about things, same as Esports Org. They were trying to stay around, stay for the late game, but already getting 4 kills without a single player or member being traded is great for them moving forward. That's 8 points very, very easily for them. VIP are now starting to regroup, heading away from the Fire Brigade, but a fair bit of action coming through already. 5 players dealt with very, very quickly going into Game 5. And I think this is maybe the opportunity, Tom, that we get into Game 5 and Game 6, where some of the teams outside of the top 6 maybe go for some more riskier plays, like in likes of Rebirth.
We talked about it very early on, that these last couple of games are going to be the ones where teams are taking more risky strategies, saying,
yeah,
we have everything to play for, but very little. Okay, hello. A bit random, but either way, hopefully we'll switch back on over. There you go, INV. And so, because they've got very little to play for, if you're at the bottom and you've only got 33 points, or say like for Rebirth, they got 54, they're going to have to get pretty much double that in these last 2 games to be able to make it up. But I would probably safely say, unless Lewis Thanos managed to pull off a 65 point game in this one, or at least sort of 45 game in this one and the following one, they're not making it through, which is scary, because there's currently only Bad Smile in the top 6. So we could only see Europe represented by 1 team if these teams carry on playing like they have been.
It certainly would be a pretty big upset coming out from both the CIS and Arab region, but you've got to think too, right? Like, go big or go home when you get into these last few games. Teams towards the bottom end, I would say the likes of Shift, but they've already been dealt with by the likes of Rebirth. But your 222 Elite, your INV, and maybe your Lewis Tanos, this is a chance for them to really start to make some more risky, aggressive plays. But at the same time, is that even worth it, right? You can maybe try and take down a whole squad and get 4 kills and get 8 points, but maybe trying to lean in towards keeping everyone alive and trying to play the late game is a little bit more beneficial, especially if you want to try and get the higher up points, the higher up that you rank.
I think 222 Elite will stay on that front if they're smart, because playing aggressive early on is a very dangerous game where you're gambling. Whereas for like INV and Lewis Tanos, just go for it, to be honest, because when they both have 33 points each, they need to get like triple that by the end of games today, and they only have this game and the following game to do so, and so they need that like 10 kills plus the first place to be able to really get forward, and that's just so unlikely to do that you might as well just play a little bit of a YOLO game. Talking of which, VIP going to be taking out some lives here on Lewis Tanos if they can, with the VSSs and SKSs here. Snipers galore on their side, well, the DMRs rather. And those Thanos are just going to be taking some hard cover. They're not going to be too worried about this. VIP, if they want to, they can go over and challenge, but going for the hard, sort of dedicated pushes when VIP is so spread out, it's just not going to happen.
Regroup together. There are teams, certainly, that in the early and mid game we have seen spread out a lot, so I do like that they're actually grouping back together, but having a now look over at the Rebirth side, they're able to get another kill, this time onto a member from Black Flag. That's 5 for them now.
I mean, that's already 10 points onto their scoreboard, so even if they do go down now, that still gives them an opportunity. They'd have to play extremely well in the last game, but right now, every kill counts. You have to get as many as possible, and it's not like, okay, we want to try and set the sort of platform. Right now, your platform's been set, and you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, so you have to play aggressively. You have to get these kills. It's not a matter of just placement points, which is so crucial, especially if you get into that top 6. Oh, Esports Original are going to be facing off very soon against another teammate. It's going to be, is that Bass Mark? I can't even see. It's 222 Elite. Sorry, 222 Elite. Pedro knocked down one of these members. It's going to be Grozny having to be sacrificed here. As 222 are just going to be pushing straight onto them, but Grust, he's got a perfect position and lots of bullets on the LMG. Managed to take a lot of damage onto David, and they're just trying to waste his time to try and get this finish on this kill, but it seems like they have actually managed to res Grozny, and they're going to be backing off over towards this river, looking to cross, or maybe even just sit in these buildings, but they're currently separated in a 3-1 split.
I do like that they actually backed off there. I think Esports Oric have done a lot stronger when they've actually played the late game, and there was certainly an opportunity there where we could have seen quite a big gunfight coming out. Stay Away are actually getting pretty close to 222 Elite, but I think as soon as they saw him, they'd go, you know what? Nah, we're out of here.
Yeah, and they're just going to be driving around in their little Lamborghini style vehicle, and maybe even actually just decide to fight these guys as well. I mean, they're...
I got 2.
Yeah, they're just driving around in style. And for context, remember, these guys were in 2nd place. They're now in actually 5th spot, below Overfear, Esports Original, CHR, and Bad Smile. So they have everything to play for as well. They don't want to play aggressive. Going up against a team like 222, who really have to get these kills, and also do their best to knock out one of the other teams out of the top 6. They'd be happy to take out Black Flag or Overfear or Esports Original. So as soon as they see these knocks, it's so much more crucial for them to get the kills than it is for Esports Original.
Hey, you've got to think for 222 Elite too, like that could have been a bit of a chance earlier to be able to have like a little bit of an exchange, but now with pretty much all the competition around them backing off, it hasn't given them too many chances. Overfear, I'm trying to get involved in at least getting around into this circle. No vehicle for them just yet, or at least I haven't seen one.
Yeah, I'm fairly interested to see what they're actually doing. Oh, it's Stay Away.
Stay Away.
222 have just completely failed here, but they're going to be doing a lot of damage here. They could even get a knock. The car is now on fire, and Stay Away are going to be stuck in the open. The spray is going to be coming out. 222 looking to do some damage. Oh, but they're going to be suddenly behind cover, and now Stay Away are going to be on a 2-2 split, 2 behind and 2 in front. So this could be the perfect split for Stay Away to be able to get the knock, and so Refuse is going to be jumping across. He wants nothing to do with this. Brister and his other teammate have managed to get up into a perfect position, get a knock onto one of the players. Suddenly this has been turned into an absolute different game. A nade needs to come out from David, but it's going to be on the reverse. He's going to get knocked down as well. This is so disappointing from the side of 222, but so impressive from Stay Away. Just driving around without a care in the world and suddenly coming upon this team and just being able to take them out so carefree like this is just a show of their skill.
It really is. Like, that was such a balls of play coming out from Stay Away, just driving with the car, and as soon as they see him, they go, oh yeah, no, let's just get out the car and start fighting. It seemed like for a moment, Tom, that 222 Elite, like, they were spamming up that car, it was getting very, very low, it was on fire, that you thought, oh, this is a great chance for Stay Away to be dealt with, but now it's gone in the completely other direction. It seems like Stay Away have just been able to overwhelm this 222 Elite side. I think they're just down to a single player now.
Yep, and watch this. Sniper shot's going to be coming in. Trista trying to land these. He's managed to land a body shot. This is just so disappointing. There you go. It's actually going to be Overfear joining in and being able to get a kill of their own on last member. And 222 Elite, that was bad. They definitely should have been able to get that knock and kill, at least on one of those players. But instead, they got backstabbed and pincered by these two teams, who were just playing in a very weird way, but it worked out fantastically for them. They managed to get 3 kills from that, and that should really, really help sort of secure that top 6 position from these guys. Meanwhile, Overfear, they've got 1 point. Dreg, I think you know, just like taking the last shot on the last 222 player was good, and you can see a reminder. He's running in for the utility. He's got 0 grenades right now. I'd say that's a very dangerous idea.
They're trying to pick up what gets dropped down, but yeah, a little bit dangerous, a little bit confident, I'd like to say, from Overfear. But I tell you what, for CHR, they've actually been spotted out into the distance. This could be another great opportunity for some of the lower tier teams to be able to try and deal with a big name like CHR.
I think it's going to get turned around.
Yeah, what's going on here?
It seems like Overfear should definitely have feared CHR, who are no joke on taking damage, and they're going to be spraying down Overfear left, right, and center right here. Tomozo, who's been knocked out of the game. Actually, yeah, he was actually on the side of CHR, sorry, so it's actually been turned around a little bit, but we're going to be seeing Tomozo sort of turn around and get a knock onto Hetler, and plus the finish. And now he's inside the circle, so he has every advantage here. Snacks is sneaking up on the right side. I don't know if he's seen that bush just moving through the open. Okay, he's realized. He turns around, gets some damage, gets the knock. Unlucky Snacks.
I'll tell you what, great stuff from Mers. And again, the player that was the MVP in game 1, where we actually saw CHR take it, it looked like for a moment there for Overfear, they had the opening advantage. But even for Mers, he's looking for a little bit more. He's already found 2 kills, 3 for the entire team. He may even be looking for his 3rd one. Getting a bit of vision on the outside of this storm, but starting to close in. There's still a lot of players alive here. And for CHR, they do lose a single player, Tom, but they've still been able to get into not the best of positions. Have a look at this zone towards the south.
Wow. Okay, so this is going to be very difficult for a team like Black Flag, INV, CHR, and the last remaining player of Overfear being able to get across. Bad Smile going to be coming in from the right side. There's a heavy opportunity for them to be able to meet in with Rebirth next to that bridge, but they're just playing carefully. They don't want to be getting too involved here. Meanwhile, Stay Away. Seems like they might well get involved with the team very soon. Esports Original. And that circle, that's centered in very central and close to the river.
Yeah, this is not a great circle for some of these teams. Now, Stay Away have actually been able to get into a pretty decent position to try and maybe overwhelm. Oh, look at this play, though, coming out from Esports Original on top of the roof, and the nade coming in, doing big damage onto Stay Away.
What a fantastic job from them, being able to be aware of their surroundings. Now the circle should be coming in and pushing them off this roof very soon. They have got another package on top of here as well. They don't need to pick it up. I think so he has a grenade launcher. That's what he was using. It wasn't grenades.
Yeah.
That's exactly the utility. If you're on the top of a house and you know where teams are, you have every advantage. And talking of which, Bad Smile are going to be getting taken down by Rebirth in the top right corner, you can see. So that might be a bad sort of switch around we see momentarily. But let's get back into the action here. Stay Away versus Esports Original. And Esports Original are very much spread out across this area. Not very much collected in one spot. Stay Away. Twister, he's on top of the roof as well. He wants to go kill that guy with the grenade launcher. Never mind, he's going to be backing off. He wants nothing to do with it. His teammates are on the outside as well. Now they've realized, okay, the storm is going to be coming in, and we have to find a position where we had to have some hard cover, and we can't stay too long on this fight. it seems like they may well decide to back off. Bad Smart going to be losing another player.
Another thing to think about as well, Tom, is that we saw Twister put down 3 glue walls before jumping off the building. It's almost like if you were going to just get away from the building, why didn't you just fall down in the first place? Rather than giving yourself so much protection and using those walls, more nades starting to come in towards this esports original side. CHR have got complete control over the building itself. Flashes coming in, and I tell you what, CHR, no, it's actually Black Frag that are able to get a few of these kills.
Yeah, I mean, Black Flag also have a grenade launcher like within this fight as well, so it's fairly interesting. Like, we're finally going to be seeing some of this grenade launcher sort of situation coming in. Actually, there's 2 grenade launchers on the side of Esports Original in one spot. I mean, if you just have a look at the glue rules on this player, Mersey, he's only got 2 left, so they have to be very careful. They used a lot very early on. Esports Original, CHR, and Stay Away, going to be very close. Stay Away have actually decided to take the hint and back away a little bit here. They don't want anything to do with this. Another care package for the side of CHR. It's not going to have too much in it for them, so they're not going to be too worried about that. But everyone's on their toes right now. There's very limited physical cover. And there's only... wow, there's actually still 9 teams alive and 26 people in total. That's nuts. I really want to see all the other players, because there must still be players on the other side of the water, because we're kind of transfixed rather on this one spot, which is getting a little bit boring. I want to actually see a little bit more of the different action. Here we go. It's going to be Black Flag taking on Alex, trying to do some jump shots there. Going to get tagged down to 50 HP, and now the blue is going in, and there's going to be a lot of damage where he's looking to take out Alex. He managed to do it as well, taking out Iron V into 9th position. Rebirth going to be in a solid spot to be able to take out the last remaining players of Bad Smile at this outside of the circle. He's just stuck in the blue right now. He's using these glue rolls, mate, but it's just not going to last. There we go. He's going to be out for the count. Bad Smile going out in 8th position. Really not what they wanted to do, but they should still be fairly secure. Lewis Tanos going out in 7th. Europe teams, I think, are almost... I think they're out in total, actually. There's no Europe teams left. Oh, and they're going to be stuck inside this building because they've got too many glue walls. They have to try and jump out, but so much damage, so little time.
Well, at least that they're able to hold on to every of their player. Yeah, there was a lot of damage coming through, and even for Esports Original, we're still yet to see them get a kill. They're getting a couple of reses coming through. A great play there to be able to make sure everyone's still alive, but 18 players left. This zone's starting to enclose, and no one's really got a great position here. Everyone's still on rotations.
Yeah, I don't understand how there's still 18 people alive right now. Like, by the time this circle's closed, I imagine there's going to be like 2 or 3 teams alive, maybe 2 at most on this kind of circle, but we'll see. There might be a couple of single-man teams, but I mean, Stay Away, Esports Original, CHR, they're so close to each other. Rebirth have run away. Then again, so have Stay Away as well. They're trying to run away and leaving CHR to try and clothesline Esports Original as the storm is coming in. So this is going to be probably one of the final fights here. We'll see, maybe 1 or 2. And now each shot's going to be coming in from Angel. He knows he's dead to the blue here, so he might as well just get some damage to these guys on the edge. Trying to stay alive in the meantime. Mersey getting some kills onto the side of Esports Original. Stay Away going to get knocked as well, and now it's going to be absolute chaos. The grenade launchers coming out left, right, and center. The spray from Barza is going to be coming in. He's going to be doing a lot of damage to VIP, who's on the outside, stuck behind these walls. And there we go. CHR going to be going out in 5th position. Not exactly what they would have wanted, with Esports Original following up very closely behind. I would have thought they would have gone out first, but it's not going to be happening. There's one glue roll to this one team. VIP staying alive just, but he's going to be going out to the blue. There's no way a revive could happen right now, but they do somehow pull it off on the edge. And oh, that's a wall, but unfortunately it's a little bit too much of an enclosure there. And he runs through that wall by accident, I think. He's stuck on the outside. He's going to get knocked down. And it's going to be Bora taking him down. I think you can see that. Or Barza, rather. And Rebirth are going to be in a key position here to be able to take them out. Doing a lot of damage, getting these kills. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on here, but Stay Away doing a lot of damage as well. They're right at the end here with these shotguns, but I think it's going to have to be Rebirth taking that away with a fantastic booyah. Is that once again? I don't think they've got a first win before, so this is it. Really well played by them in the 5th game on Purgatory.
I tell you what, a big booyah coming out for Rebirth, and they've now started to rise up the rankings a little bit, Tom. They've been a team that I think going into this game, they were in 9th position. They only had something like 7 kills in the past 4 games, and they got 10 plus in that. I think I saw like 12 or 13 in the end, so sometimes it's just one big performance in an individual game that can really get you ahead. I think what some teams really struggled with, especially in that last zone, was no one was actually there. There were so many teams in rotation. Stay Away were putting up some really big kills. We saw Rebirth putting up some big numbers, and between them, they must have been like getting on 30 kills between them.
I just want to mention like CHR as well. This is another like just consistent gameplay from them. They came in 5th position, but they did get a decent amount of kills, I feel, on that front. I don't think they did as well as they could have done because of the way other teams were coming in and stopping them from being able to play, as well as Esports Original were doing a fantastic job of deflecting their attacks and doing sort of reverse knocks on them. So being able to get sort of 4th position over CHR was fantastic for them. But Rebirth, I'm very interested to see where they managed to land on that front, how many kills they managed to get in total from that front. We do have to wait, but 1st position, it's a minimum of 20 points. 2nd place, let's just see when the leaderboard comes up. But Europe, come on, not even in the top. There's not a single EMEA team that made it into the top 6, I think, or 7. I think Bad Smile went out in like 7th or 8th.
It's not a great day for the EU teams. We've seen a couple of high placings from them. I think we saw like Bad Smile being like a consistent top 6er when it comes to most of the games. But again, when you think of the victories, it's pretty much just been like the CIS teams that have come out on top. But yeah, look, in that last one, I think the one big element again is obviously these teams outside of the top 6 putting up some big performances. You've got to think for this Rebirth camp, I think going into this, they had something like 30 odd points. They would have got 20 for the booyah, plus 10 kills as well. It's got to be maybe 40, 45, getting on 50 points potentially, which is really, really strong for them and could actually catapult them into a top 6 position.
Yeah, I mentioned 45 points or sort of around that mark in what they kind of needed to get in this game and the next game to maintain that sort of top position from their placement of, I think they were in 9th position at the start of the game. So I think they have managed to top that, and it was really well played as well. They didn't get there by chance. They really secured it, played fantastically, and they have been the kind of underdog or sort of, I guess, wild card when it comes to these games, where we have seen some really good games, but the consistency hasn't been there like it has been from like CHR. And so it's fairly scary when sort of a team like that can come through and perform very well. Black Flag, I think they could have done better as well, but they were kind of stuck in a hard place between CHR and Esports Original and Rebirth, and also I think INV as well for a short time. And I was just double checking, but so Luis Tanos managed to get in 7th position with 6 points, and then there was 8th position for Bad Smile, which was 4 points. So yeah, I think we can kind of guess where the point system is going to go. And the 2 bottom teams were from the EMEA region, and I think that's going to be where they stay.
And you've got to think as well, Tom, like at what point do we get consistent? Is it already too late? Like we've finished game 5 and we have not been able to name who's going to be at least a top 2, top 3 contender in every single game, because that has just not happened. And it is kind of disappointing to see that there isn't the consistency there. You do have the other side of the spectrum where you've had teams having some big performances, putting up some really big numbers, but then in the next game, they just drop off massively. And it makes it so difficult for us to sort of say, right, we know who is going to be the favorites. We know who's going to be able to take this out, like the Vastamundo side who have done so well already into the finals. But yeah, look, I don't know, Tom, you have a look at the game 5 standings, 12 kills in the end there from Rebirth to get 44 points. Really big stuff from them. I think we wanted to see a lot more coming out from Bad Smile and 222 Elite. They didn't get no kills between them.
Wow. That's just disappointing. But I just want to say, there's some like weird consistency in that first spot. That is the 3rd game we've had where teams have got 44 points. Yeah, so that's just crazy. Otherwise, there was 11, and then the European teams have won. 222 Elite, they've got 11, and then Bad Smile got 10, which is obviously the lowest score in one win so far. But yeah, 0 kills, that's just so disappointing for Bad Smile, 222 Elite, and Shift as well, who got absolutely destroyed I mean, even from those Thanos, they got 0 points as well from kills. Overfear, they managed to get 2 kills, so ended up that in sort of 9th position in that sort of map, but still managing to get a same amount of points. And oh wow,
Ooh. Look at 2 to 5th. Like, there's 3 points in it. Oh my goodness, this is going to come down to the wire. There is honestly a really good chance that I think 22, like 222 Elite, I think they could potentially make top 6, but it would have to be one hell of a performance. For VIP and Black Flag, there's actually a decent shout that they can make top 6 if they have a big performance, because having a look between Stay Away, Rebirth, Esports Original, Bad Smile, and Overfear, there's like nothing between them.
I honestly couldn't say, like you were saying, like I couldn't tell you who's gonna come in the top, like outside of number 1. I think CHR. The CHR are going to be 100% in the top 6. I would put
Definitely
solid amount on that front, and I'd say half of the other teams, actually no, sorry, all but one of those teams should remain, or maybe all but 2 of the teams in that top 6 should remain as it is now. Potentially, there could be a big shake-up, and we could see a lot of the sort of more sort of consistency on sort of VIP, Black Flag, and Elite. It could be like 222 Elite actually managed to do fantastically, get 40 points, and managed to make it up on top of the leaderboard, and then we could see Black Flag and VIP do fairly well, get that sort of 20 to 30 points, and knock out one of the other teams at the bottom there. So I think it's still everything to play for, because it was at the bottom there. Let me double check. It was Overfear with 84 points. So that's actually that's only 5 points difference from VIP.
it's not a lot. It really isn't. And you know what? Like, going into Game 6, I don't know whether this will be the attitude of some of the teams, but if I'm anyone in the bottom 3, like if I'm Shift, if I'm Lewis Thanos, or I'm IMV, I'm going, you know what? I'm just going to hot drop on some of these top teams and just try and take them out, because that way you can cause some upsets. You know, at this point, if you're in the bottom 3, you're not making top 6. But if you can take out a team like CHR or Stay Away or Rebirth, you can create some upsets for the respected teams in your region.
This was the first real sort of push for Rebirth. They went in early against Shift, who just fell apart at the seams. They crumbled, like a biscuit, and that really was the start of the end for the rest of the teams, because they just built up that confidence. And like here right now as well, this is a good example of 222 just tripping over themselves and really failing to perform against the likes of Stay Away, who should definitely have been easy targets. Instead, they're going to get knocked out with the help of one of the other teams. I think it was Rebirth potentially chiming in with a kill, CHR joining in as well. And as we go towards this sort of end fight here, it is going to be CHR going out and then Esports Original. You can see Angel just getting sort of stuck behind that wall at the end there. And also, grenade launchers was the first game we actually saw animate.
Yeah, and you know what? I was a little bit disappointed, Tom. I thought we were going to see like raining 3Ks and 4Ks, but we saw them be a little bit effective, but we didn't really get to see, especially in the late game, them being used too much. It seems like it was a lot of these ARs and SMGs up close and personal that were doing the majority of the damage. So, you know, hopefully for Game 6, I don't know if you're on the same sort of spectrum, but mate, I want to see mass amount of kills with these grenade launchers.
I want to see some hot drops now. Like you were saying,
right
those bottom teams, you're screwed. You failed. You've messed up. Do what you can. Have fun. Some people like to say it's actually bad sportsmanship to hot drop and stuff and messing up. Like, that's screw you. Go away.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
it's good fun, because in the end, hypothetically, Lewis Thanos or Shift, if they really wanted to, they could hot drop, get some kills, and if they manage to get like say 20 kills or something ridiculous, which is plausible. Not like very unlikely to happen, but if they get 20 kills plus the win, they could actually skyrocket and go into that top 6. If they don't get loads of kills, they're not going to get anything, and they're going to walk away holding their heads, hanging their heads in shame.
You've got to think, right? Like, when you get into this spot, I always think that if you're a team that you know you're not going to make it, just have fun about it. You know, don't sit there and play passive and get to the last circle without any kills. Go out there and have some fun. You know, you're playing in an event. Yeah, there is a lot of prize money on the line, but at the same point, when you know you're not going to make top 6, you know, go out there and be like, we had a good time.
I think like an even more crucial point is that go hard, like go mad with it, because your current ways, like unless your strategy before was just going crazy and hot dropping and it didn't work and you at the bottom, don't repeat that. There is no point. But that's not the case. These teams do tend to play passive, apart from Shift, who did do that last game and fell apart. Don't do that. Maybe you obviously can't contend with a team like Rebirth, but for like Lewis Thanos, I mean, I don't think they've hot dropped anyone so far. So just go ahead with it. Play for fun, but if you do really well, then you do really well, and you could actually make it into the prize pool and into next week's grand finals. And let's just talk about the prize pool, mate. We're going into the last game, 300,000 just for this region alone. We've then got 2 other regions with $300,000 as well. First place of each region is $80,000 plus their own in-game item. Now that's something to show off.
That's you know what, I sometimes you like to do a bit of showboating, right? Like the 80K is obviously great, but like having an in-game item, like you're going to be known forever with things like that. So yeah, no, there's certainly a lot of that behind you. But look, I'm just hoping that we do get to see some hot drops. I think in the last like 5 games or so, we've only seen a couple of times of some really early fights. The only one I'm sort of thinking of is like Black Flag, where they had like 8 kills in the first like 5 minutes or so when they ran over 2 squads. I want to see more of that, but from a larger majority of teams rather than just one.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the last game, and you have to really do hard to be able to even make it into that top 6. So you might as well go ham. And if you're in that top 6 as well, like you're pointing out, between 2nd and 5th place, there's currently a 3-point difference.
It's tight.
Like that is super tight. Like Overfit just there, like, yes, it's ours. And then after them, there's like VIP like Sneakers, like, can we have some as well? Can we join in? And then Black Flag as well is like, yeah, we might as well try on their position. There's really there's less than 20 points difference between Black Flag and that sort of 6th position. Sorry, 5th position. So there's so much to play for on that front. I think they could definitely do this if they want to. And just take something like prize pool, and it's not even about the prize pool. If you get into the main tournament, you really have that to be able to put on your profile. If you get 12th position, you still get 10K split across you guys, like $2,500 each. If you get first place, it's like 20K each, unless you want to share it with your coach, which I do suggest. So even if you do just get into the sort of finals, it's that sort of having that prestige of saying, okay, one of the first big tournaments, or the biggest online tournament from Free Fire so far, the Free Fire Continental series, is big. Like, that's good.
And as well, I think a lot of the time when you kind of get a group sort of like this, a lot of the time, if there's 12 teams and only 6 make it through, you might have a situation where you go, oh, all right, there's a couple of teams that might make it. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking between 2nd and 8th, there is so much wiggle room. Yeah, for CHR for 1st, there's no way they're going down. Like they can even troll this game, and I think they'll be completely fine. I really hope they don't, but there is a lot of wiggle room for movement to get into that top 6. And I tell you what, Tom, I don't think we're going to know until right at the end. My goodness, look at how many teams are dropping towards the center there. You've got Shift, INV, Bad Smile are there as well, and I think there might even be another team underneath as well. There is a lot of teams there.
I wouldn't actually even get that excited. Yeah, there you go. So we are actually having a rematch because there was actually connection issues for 2 of the members of 222. So we're going to be going back to our wonderful faces. So we're gonna have a slight delay so we can actually carry on talking to you lovely guys and ladies out there about what is really going to be expected in this. We saw a little bit of a sneak peek of, like, there's some hot dropping going on there. There were like 3 teams touching, like, within touch distance of each other there, and Bad Smile were one of those teams. And I think Bad Smile, like, we don't want this, because they don't want to be in a hot drop situation, because they just need to play to the end. They do not need to go for heavy frags. If they go heavy, I think there's every opportunity that could open up the doorway for VIP and Black Flag to storm in and be like, EMEA? Who are they? Get out. And we may actually end up having very few EMEA teams sort of representing us in the final. It could just be Mundo and Ivana Daddy. So we'll see. Yeah,
and like, even obviously you would expect things to change, right, Tom? Like, you're not going to see people land in the same spot, but in that hot drop you had Bad Smile, who are currently 4th. You had INV, who are down in 10th, and you had Swift that's in 11th. So you had two teams in the bottom three. We're like, yep, we're going for this. We're just hot dropping. We're going to try and see if we can take a big name out. And like, I hope once this gets reset, we go into game 6 again, that we have something similar. But you're absolutely right. Any team in that like 2nd to 5th position, or even 2nd to 6th, they do not want any of the lower tier teams to drop with them. That is the last thing you want.
It would really scare me if I was Bad Smile now. I'd be like, okay, so where do we go? Like, this is Kalahari last map of the day. This is their last chance to secure their way into the finals for next week on the 28th. I mean, there's everything to play for on this front. And I think they have every opportunity to fall down if they don't try and separate out. And I think this is what we're going to see. We're going to see them drop down. They're going to be very nervous of other people hot dropping them. I think INV and Shift will switch their hot drops positions, but I think they're still hot drop a team, but I don't think it's going to be the same sort of position.
Yeah.
And they could be free kills. If they land on the wrong team, like Black Flag or VIP, they could be handing the free kills to potentially the wrong team, depending on your viewpoint. Or they could land on 2-2 game and allow them to have that like 20 kill game to be able to try and make it up there. So this is so crazy. Like, this rematch, although like it's really not perfect or ideal, like we obviously don't want these situations to happen, but this has now changed the course and has kind of worried a lot of people because they knew that they were getting hot dropped in those spots. So, okay, then now what do we do?
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going to happen in this next one, apart from a couple of hot drops from INV, I'd say.
Now, if I'm one of the top teams, I'm probably dropping late. And the only reason for that is because you know where everyone else is going to be dropping to. Like, if you drop early, that gives everyone else the perfect opportunity to go, right, we're going here. So, yeah, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. But I think dropping late for some of the stronger teams that are higher up the rankings probably is more beneficial for them. Because if you drop early, literally any team from like 8th and below just have a chance to be like, yeah, we're just all going here now.
Oh, okay, well, so I'll give you this scenario. Half the lobby decide to jump out sporadically across it, and the top 6 teams, like, yeah, we're just gonna wait until the end. They get to the end, and like,
yeah,
oh no, and so they're trying to run around, and they're just getting wiped, and so then that opens it up for the other teams to be able to jump in. So I think we're gonna be seeing an upset here. I just think it's the nature of the game, and from what we've seen, like, Rebirth just went from 9th position all the way up to 3rd. 2-2 Elite, they went all the way from 12th up to what is it, like 4th or 5th position because of the 3rd game. Like, that was 3 games in, and they had like 2 or 3 kills before. 6 points in total, with like 1 or 2 kills in total. So the consistency isn't there, and it's like there's no such thing as consistency in this last game. It's all about all or nothing, I think, for every team below number 1. I think CHR is secure. Everyone else, no idea.
And as well, I wonder whether we'll see a bit of a change in pacing, because for the most part, you've had a couple of aggressive teams, but pretty much everyone's been passive. Now you get into a spot now where the teams that are like maybe 6th to 10th, maybe like 6th to 9th, probably still have an okay chance they do really, really well to make it forward. But you're kind of wondering, for some of the top teams, so they want to fight aggression with aggression rather than just playing passive and just having teams overwhelm again and again and again. We've seen the only team that's done that on a consistent basis is probably BF of Black Flag. They've just been pushing every single time. But I have a gut feeling that going into Game 6, there is going to be a lot of teams playing very aggressive.
I think so too. I think CHR and potentially Stay Away, these are 2 teams that can consistently play aggressive. I mean, so far they've got the 2 top kills as well, 27 and 26. Yep. Black Flag, who are down in 8th position, they've got 24 as well. They were the kill leaders for ages, but last game they didn't actually get that many. They weren't that successful, which is the reason why they landed below the top 6. So I think we will see a couple of these teams do it. But I mean, the likes of Bad Smile, I think they'll play passive as usual. It's kind of what they've done. They have realized that, okay, the skill level is really here, and they're not the top fraggers. They're not the highest skill players either. Like, it just can't, like, it's harsh to say, but they haven't got that many kills. Like, I mean, they've got 15 kills in total. They're the lowest killing team in the top 6 actually. Number 22, Overfear, they have 22 kills. Esports Original, they have 18, and then you have Bad Smile with 15, and then you have Rebirth with 19, who were obviously in 9th position and just shot up. But
Yeah.
obviously before this game, Rebirth actually only had 7 kills, and they got 12 kills in that last game. So
So there are a few like complexions to be thinking about. How important do you think the playing path is going to be going into this final game?
massive. I think it has an effect on every single game, I mean, especially like even more so on this one. If this is a playing path where it's like at the bottom of it, and it's just going straight across the bottom where it doesn't give people the room to breathe, we are going to be seeing a highly intensive gameplay sort of coming out from these teams. Either that, or they have to spend ages. Like a team like Badsmile would just be like, okay, we're going to go and try and fly really far away, and they may be able to get away. But on a map like Kalahari, there's every chance that they could get shot in the back as they're trying to fly away or drive away or whatever it is. So I think it's going to be very dangerous if it's a bad playing line or a restrictive playing line, not a bad one. It's going to be very hard for a lot of these teams to be able to cope with not hot dropping.
Yeah, because I think when we look at the playing paths we've had from game 1 to game 5, we haven't really had any that have restricted one portion of the map to the other. They've been relatively centralized. Yeah, maybe they've been pointing west or north or south or whatever it may be. But when you think of the direction of it, there hasn't sort of taken map control away from any teams. It's been pretty much through the middle. So I'm hoping that that's the same, because certainly, like, if you did have one that was very favored to one side than another, you probably have a lot more teams dropping closer to one or two, and as well, you're gonna have half the map that's just not going to be played at all.
And the thing is with it as well is if the circle ends up shifting up on the opposite side, you're gonna have a lot more of rotations and people clashing and having not really as much of that control. So if there's a single or like couple of teams who've made it up into the to the other side of the map already and the circle drops on them, like I just straight up say they're probably going to be in the top 3. Like there's a high chance of it, because they're not going to be contending or fighting with other teams going across. And I mean, in that specific game, last night when we were doing the practice games, like the scrim games on Kalahari, actually we saw a very hard southeastern plane line which cut off the majority of the plane line. And that was a fairly quick and brutal game. There was a lot of firefights very early on. Lewis Tanos got absolutely destroyed, like they have done today, to be fair. And some of the, like, to be fair, like the scrims last night are really representative of what has happened today, which is quite surprising. I thought it might be slightly different, but yeah, no, I mean that there's been a very sort of good consistency out of these sort of CIS teams and other regions who come into it, and like Black Flag as well. That's like a surprise, but then again, they're still not top 6.
Yeah, and when you sort of focus in on that top 6 as well, I think the CIS teams are really maybe so that haven't been too much in terms of consistency. I think CHR has maybe been the only team that we've seen so far in all previous games that have done very, very well. We're actually looking at that playing path out towards the northeast area, and it's pretty centralized again in the middle, not really restricting too much. But you've got 4 of all CIS teams that have qualified in are in the top 6, Tom.
You are right, and now we're going to be seeing Rebirth versus Bad Smile very soon, but it's going to be CHR versus Shift. Let's jump on into this action here. It's going to be... Oh, I can't see it here. There's Armaro looking to do a lot of damage. He should be able to get this kill by jumping up on this wall. Can't quite tell. That's a little bit of lag there.
First blood.
Waiting for it to go through, and I'll let you guys know, but there should be a fairly harsh... There you go. First blood going to be going on the side of CHR. Don't know what he's doing. He turns around, but not in time. He's potentially going to get taken down. DVL trying to get that kill. He should be able to get the knock. He does get the finish as well. The return fire is going to be coming out. Wanis, he's going to be finished. Out for the count. CHR doing some early damage, but having some damage done to them very early on as well. They have to be careful, because although they're in that first spot, they could definitely still get knocked down a bit, but I don't think it really matters too much. And taking some of these free kills really secures that spot as well. And I say free kills just because Shift are at the bottom. They're not actually free kills. I'm just being harsh. I mean, comes to Shift, they've only got 1 person left, and they've only managed to take out 1 of the players of CHR. That says a lot. And I think that's going to be it for Shift for the whole tournament. And they may well now be securing their 12th position in the whole of the tournament. Kind of the opposite. This is first versus last.
Yeah, and I actually don't mind this coming out from Shift. Like, yeah, maybe you come out of that exchange not favorable, obviously, with 3 players going down and only getting 1 member of CHR. But when you know you're in 12th place, at least trying to do some damage against at least one of the top teams, you can be quite pleased about. I mean, for Shift, if he can get 1 more kill, then it's something to just be happy about, Tom. But you've got to think for Cortex, he's not going to find much more than this.
No, they're definitely hunting for him right now, and I don't know how he's going to survive for too long. He just needs to go around this corner, and he might stand a chance, but I think he just moved in time. So I don't know if they know exactly where he is. So they are hunting for him, but there's only so much time they can actually waste hunting for him here. I'd probably just run away. Like, there's no point. I mean, well, I say there's no point. They also don't care because they've secured top 6 no matter what. And it's also just an interesting fight between first top team and bottom team. Cortez has probably been one of the players I think who has had the most knocks as well, like done on him. Like he's been knocked most times, just from my general sort of calculations on that front. But we'll see. Oh, there you go, Mersey, one of the top fraggers probably across the game.
And you've got to think as well, right? I think the highest amount of kills we saw from any team in any of the previous games was 12, right? Like we had a couple of teams pretty consistently getting 12 kills over the last couple of games, but at least for CHR, they've already set themselves up pretty nicely. They've got a large amount of kills to start off this game, and you've just got to think that with Shift going out, it means that we are at least getting rid of some competition.
Yeah, and those kills from Shift are very important for other people to be able to get, and the fact that the top team took them is really brutal. And INV versus Lewis Thanos, this is another 2 of the bottom teams, so this is just amusing because we're currently seeing like a little bit of like sort of polar opposites, and then we're going to like the 2 bottom teams fighting out very early. I mean, this is why they've not been doing too well. They have these sort of early fights, and they're not doing great. But they want to get some points, and taking out each other would be a great start. But all I think they're going to do is injure each other, and they're going to get third-partied by someone. Or there is going to be a complete wipe. But I think it's going to be sort of an injure, and they're going to get third-partied. INB Daniel going to be chiming in, taking down Martins. A little bit of a push from Goober going to be coming in. He drops down a wall, and he's looking to pick someone else up. He's going to get shot in from behind. INB doing a fantastic job. Looking to finish some kills as well, but it's going to be Nuno coming in. Knocks one. Going to go in for the second one as well, but he has to be very careful exposing himself outside that door because there's plenty of INV players looking to get the revenge here on these guys. Still a 4-man at the moment pushing into this building, and that's going to be a lot of damage done. Mate going to be jumping out the window. Ooh. And we actually see Rebirth getting a complete wipe on a team.
Oh, okay. That's not good for Rebirth at all, because they're currently in 3rd spot, Tom. So with them going down, this actually might potentially get them out of that top 6 position. It seems like Lewis Thanos are now going to be the ones to fall. IMV being able to get, 4 kills, delete an entire squad, and everyone stays alive. Now Bad Smile are trying to take a bit of a duel towards Black Flag. Really high up engagement here in terms of the height advantage that they've got, and they've already started off with an opening kill.
Being able to get that first kill is great, but we've seen how this tends to end between Bad Smile and Black Flag. I think they've had one success, which was in the second game where they managed to wipe out Black Flag, third game where they managed to wipe out Black Flag in 9th position, or I think 11th actually, when they're on the outside. So I think this is fairly potentially damning for them if they try to go too aggressive on this. Especially with the fact that they're so high up and so close to like on contention with other teams. And so I mean, Drery is currently just doing a bit of a scouting mission to try and see where some other players are. There is actually a team coming straight on. It's going to be 222 Elite pushing onto Bad Smile. Drery needs to jump back right now. Bad Smile, Dex going to take down Refuse. These are 2 teams we did not expect or want to be fighting each other early on, but it is going to happen. And the third party from Black Flag should be coming out. Refuse going to get finished by Dex. This is looking very dire here.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Black Flag because they've got so many opponents to deal with. Yeah, it might help their kill count if they're able to stay alive and still pick these players off, but you've got 2 units of squads coming in between the 222 Elite and as well as Black Flag. They certainly do have that height advantage. That's something to help them out. And for 222 Elite, there was a lot of damage taken from them, but it looks like for the Frenchmen, at least I thought they were going to be trying to back off here, Tom, but they're not at all.
No, they're just looking to just go in for the fights. I mean, 222, as I mentioned, before pre-game, we had to see them try to get a bunch of kills. Yeah. To be able to even make it up the leaderboard, so they can't really back off. Even though it is Bad Smile and one of the top teams, they still need to try and focus and get some of the kills. Bad Smile, meanwhile, looking to still hunting for both of these teams right now, and they're so spread out. Drery is very much playing by himself, and going to be seeing a bit of a punishment. It's Triple Two looking to be able to get a knock. There was a knock on either side, so it's kind of fair. Apart from the side of Triple Two, they actually only have 3 players in total, so they have to be careful. They don't have the same sort of manpower as Bad Smile. But I'm still just waiting, because if you look on the map, Black Flag, CHR are very close by, and I think CHR are going to be coming in and looking to interfere with this.
And one big kind of advantage here for Stay Away is it seems like they won't have many teams to deal with for quite some time until they figure out what that next zone is. So that is certainly going to help their placement of not getting involved in this mix, because you've got sort of 4 teams or so around this refinery where they're in very close quarters. And if you're anyone else, you don't want to be there. But no, the circle drops right on top of them, Tom.
This is going to be such a chaotic game. Like, there is... I mean, it already is. We're down to 9 teams. Keep in mind, at the end, like, the second to last circle of last game, we had 9 teams and 26 alive. We're now already down to 9 teams and 33. That is crazy. That's 6 people difference on that front, spread across the sort of different teams who've managed to stay alive here. So, I don't know what to expect here. We've currently got 3 EU teams battling it out on top of this hill, trying to find out who's the king of the hill. And to be honest, I don't think any of them really deserve this spot. And I think we're going to be seeing another team come in and really sort of third party them. It's such a dangerous position to be in. Like, INV have now actually just entered themselves in between 2 teams, and I don't think they quite realize how much danger they're in. Triple Two are going to be doing a lot of damage to them from behind, so they now have to build up a full-on wall around them. And Nate should be coming in from Dai here, who has every opportunity to just drop these players from a safe distance. Meanwhile, David is looking out for it as well. And oh wow. Dai jumped off the wall, and he does get knocked, and he's going to get finished by INV.
Oh, no. That's really got to hurt now for the French side of Bad Smile. And for Triple Two Elite, they've got an opportunity to try and pick up Pedro that's been knocked down, but there are still so many teams trying to contest. You can play underneath of the scaffolding in the refinery, on top as well. And I tell you what, Tom, we might see 2 levels of elevation going into the very last circle, depending on where it lands.
Honestly, those are really interesting. Oh, look at that grenade launcher coming in. Morenio gonna be able to get the finish on Pedro thanks to that grenade launcher's sort of long distance shooting of the projectiles. Dex again.
Ooh.
Wow. Bad Smile are out. There's
no way.
There's a chance they don't make it into the top.
So we've seen Rebirth gone and Bad Smile gone, who are 3rd and 4th respectively going into this game, and they've been eliminated already. There's still 8 teams left. This is a really good chance for some of the lower tier teams, your VIP, your Black Flag, and maybe even Triple Two Elite to make their way up if they can still get a mountain amount of kills and try and have a high placing.
I mean, just to be clear, like, remember the difference between, so Overfear are out, VIP. I think VIP might already be in. We'll have to wait and see, but
could be.
Because now, like, if they get to 6th position, rather, I think they 100% have done. We'll have to wait and see, but their difference between them and 6th position was like 5 points. So this is scary. Like, and Black Flag as well have every opportunity. So we're not going. Oh wow! And Black Flag end in the circle as well. This is crazy. And Stay Away and Overfear going to be coming in. The Overfear, sorry, are still in at the moment, so there is still a chance for them to be able to make it through. VIP fighting Esports Original. Oh, that grenade is perfect, but the glue roll just making it in time, stopping it from being able to get to him. They're going to have to go in for the revive here. Perfect play from Angel coming in, dropping the revive, getting lots of heals down on these guys. Looking to back away from this fight, but it's going to be Yusuf pushing up, looking to do a lot of damage. It's got this SMG knocking down one, looking in for the 2nd kill, but they're chasing them down these stairs, trying to find them. There's going to be Angel getting the return fire on them as well, but in the meantime, Angel's going to get dropped down, and seemingly is going to be Esports Original going to be down to 1 player who's running for his life right now. I think these guys are going to be looking to go in for the hunt, but I don't think they can quite spot him out. They're not looking in the right direction, so he's very lucky for right now.
I tell you what, in this sub play coming out for VIP, they did really well to not lose any players there, Tom. We saw a couple of knocks coming down to that side, but they still get away with a few kills between them, and everyone stays in the game. Now, as for CHR, they're pretty much already confirmed into the top 6. They're your first leaders. They've got 4 kills. They're already looking at a pretty deep placing going into game 6. So things are looking pretty good for them, but I'm still quite afraid that some of these teams outside of the top 6 can make their way in, because there are still quite a few of them alive. VIP and Black Flag have some very, very good chances, especially if they're able to deal with Overfear and try and get them out.
I mean, just for context, Rebirth were 98 points. Esports Original, 96. And Esports Original are now down to 1 person. Rebirth are knocked out. So I find it hard to believe that there's not going to be a 100% a change in at least 2 of the teams. Or at least 1 of the teams is 100. Oh, there you go. Esports Original going out. This means VIP and Black Flag can 100%. They have the opportunity. Like I call it now. I'm going to say they're going to make it through, but it's going to be very hard to sort of tell 100%. But I think they're going to go through.
And for IMV, I don't know how important this duel is towards the stay away side. You can see for them 5 kills, making sure that all the reses are coming through. And now we've got to a point, like, we had a fair amount of gunfire coming through, but it's now started to slow down a little bit, Tom. We haven't really seen too much action in the last few minutes or so. It seems like for the majority of the teams, it's all about this passiveness and trying to figure out where the next zone's coming through. Another kill coming through, a knock too from Stay Away. They're starting to do some damage now.
Just double checked. I think only half the teams in the top 6 are currently alive. Oh, wow. A dive from INV. Alex is going to be seeing them. Going to get slapped. VIP going out in 6th position. I now have no idea if they're even going to be able to make it into the top 6. I really did think they would, but INV are currently going to be stuck out in the blue and slowly just dying. Left, right, and center. INV Alex going to get knocked by one of the players. CHR going to be looking very happy with themselves here, sitting in the corner, waiting for these teams to push out. BF, Black Flag, one of the last teams potentially contend for this. And the grenade launcher coming out, taking out 2 at once. They did not see it coming. Kadyrov going to have to do a lot of work here to save the day for his team. He's going to be the last man standing. They've got 5 kills total, but Black Flag looking to push in here, potentially going to be making their way into the top 6. All they have to do is get a couple of more kills and a better position. Well, they're in the top 4. This is going to be very hard for them. They also just picked up another grenade launcher, if I'm right in saying. 2 players left on Black Flag, 1 on CHR. They played together like right next to each other for so long. And then the grenade launcher that came out, you finally got to see it in action.
And you've got to think for Black Flag, they need more kills here, Tom. They need more kills. They've only got 3. They need a high placing too. If they could take down this last member from CHR, that would give them a really good opportunity. And even for Overfear, they're trying to snipe in from the distance. They've still got 3 players alive.
Yeah, I mean, they need a couple more kills in there. Oh, wow. Stay Away going to be able to get a kill themselves. I mean, Black Flag, I think they're maybe 1 kill away potentially from being able to make it into the top 6, if not even less. But Stay Away now going to be turning into bushes, trying to make some cover and trying to just jump in here. But it's going to be Stay Away slaughtering them, taking down 2 of them, shooting at Snacks as well. Black Flag coming in from behind with the snipers, taking them in. But it's going to be Black Flag removed from the game. Now it's going to be the last 2 teams. Grenade goes out. It's going to be Stay Away pushing in, taking out Overfear. And that's going to be a booyah for the last team here. Stay Away coming in, chiming in with a bunch of kills.
And I'll tell you what, that may be the record, Tom, for the most amount of kills that we've seen come out from any team so far this entire day. I think it was 13 in the end there from Stay Away. Big, big booyah from them. And look, outside of, like, they're the only team that were in the, like, top 6 and CHR that are confirmed. Anyone else, it's like, we don't know until we get the points. Getting that first position and that many kills, you can say top 6, no doubt. CHR as well, but everyone else, like, it's going to be close. There is going to be teams that are 1-2 points away from one another.
I could spoil myself and have a look now, but I'm going to wait.
Don't.
I'm going to wait. It's I'm going to look for, like, how many points and kills and stuff they got in that one game. And, I mean, yeah, like you said, 13 kills. That's the highest kill count for a single team. And, like, Stay Away 100% deserve to go through the grand finals, which we both agree it's going to be fairly much secured. But Black Flag, are they going to make it through? Bad Smile. I don't know. Like, they could do. I mean, it's very possible. VIP, they're on the edge. I don't think they did. I think they went out in 6th position, so I think it's probably too few kills. But they did have, like, 5 or 6. So there's every opportunity. And then you have likes of, like, Esports Original. they won 96 points. Bad Smile, 96 points. Like Rebirth, they were in the sort of in that sort of 90. I think they had 98 points. So
yeah.
Like these are three top of the, like I said, like early on, is like half the teams were out by the time there was half the top teams were out by the time there was only 7 teams left alive. So I have no idea, because VIP and Black Flag could really take them home.
Well, I've got a bit of a gut feeling that maybe Rebirth hasn't made it, because you think that they were in that mix between the 2 and 5 teams, right? Are very close. They went 12th with no kills in that last game. Like, you could not get worse than that in the sense of helping your points. You get absolutely nothing. So that really could have hurt them. I mean, even if they get to like 10th, 9th, 8th without getting any kills, you still get yourself points. But coming out in last with no kills, like, that doesn't help. That really doesn't help.
Yeah, I think I was just double checking on the scoreboard of that last game, so I'm fairly certain they actually managed to come 11th, so they got like 1 point.
Oh, so they got 1 there.
So they'll be on like 99 points.
Yeah, okay.
So that's it's going to be very hard to say, but Lewis Thanos went out first, but they did manage to get... oh, no.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that later on. Either way, like, it's so close across all these teams that, like you said, like, Rebirth, even Bad Smile, they didn't do much. They just got wiped out. One of them jumped off the edge, knocked himself out, and then gave a free point over to INV. And INV are just like, what do we do with these points? We're at the bottom. Like, and INV probably played one of their best games in that as well. They played really well up until the end, where they were like stuck in a warehouse and they were just getting slaughtered by CHR and not Rebirth, sorry, Stay Away, and like they're just getting slapped down. So they ended up being like a little bit of a feed for these teams like Stay Away, and help them get up to that 13-point kill streak. But like, there's no way they're getting into the top 6. Like I can't imagine them doing that.
I'm pretty sure, if I think back to that game, I think 1 player from Bad Smile fell to their death, and then 2 from INV did as well. I think, like, we saw a lot of players falling off some high structures. But look, for INV, it's honestly, I don't know if it's a silver lining or it's disappointment to say they've gone through the first 5 games not really doing much. Game 6, they really come alive. They ended up getting 9 kills. They placed like 5th or 6th, I think, or ranked that in the end. And then it's just not enough, and it almost makes you feel sorry for them, because that was the best game we saw from them this entire day.
Too little too late, I think, in that aspect. Same for a lot of teams, but not for Lewis Thanos. I'd say, like, overall they have just played disappointingly across it. I really had hyped them up, and I really thought they were going to do very well, but at the end of the day, you have to show up. And it's like, if you want to be able to make it into and have the prestige of making it into the grand finals, you have to actually get the kills and play well. But they didn't bring that A game, but I think we'll see them come back into next year and do really well. Interesting to see where they do land on the scoreboard overall, but it's going to be in the bottom 3 or 4, and imagine overall on that front. Bad Smile as well, like the whole of the EMEA region. I think there's a lot of improvements to be made, and I think reviewing these VODs, even like there is still a chance no EMEA teams make it through to the finals from the play-ins, and there may only be 2 teams like Vastamando and Amadadi who make it through. And if that is the case, fine, those 2 teams deserve it, and every other team deserves it as well. And this just gives a learning opportunity for the rest of the teams.
Yeah, and look, I think this is a great opportunity too for any of the teams that didn't make it out of the top 6 to maybe look back and, like, I don't want to see roster changes. I think that's the last thing you want to do after a disappointing tournament. Maybe it's something long term that you might be thinking of, but looking back at your mistakes and having a positive mindset on it, sort of saying, you know what, yeah, we didn't do too well, but as long as we fix them and going into next year, well, we're going to do better. Hopefully lands are going to be coming back whenever that happens. You know, it's still up in the air, but you've just got to put a bit of a positive mindset on it. The last thing you want, the worst thing you want, is for it to be eliminated from event and just be sulking for weeks, because unless you've got that positive mindset about you, that's when teams crumble. Like, if you sit there and you start blaming one another, oh, if you did this, if you did that, that's when the team's done. You've got to finish off an event, even if you don't qualify, with a positive mindset. That's the only way to improve and go forward.
Yeah, I think putting a positive spin on it, like these teams managed to get to this spot right now from the Premier League. They played fantastically through that, and they have every opportunity to do well going forward into other tournaments, be it sort of just region restricted or worldwide. Like next year, who knows what the stage is going to be. We could have like this time next year a physical LAN like in wherever it is, and we actually have just a $900,000 prize pool instead, or like 1.5 or whatever it is. There could be a massive prize pool online. So if you break away now and just separate as a team, you have even less chance because you have to rebuild over the next year to get to that point. And sort of you might face even more issues rather than trying to fix the internal ones you have now. Although if you do need to make changes, make them. Don't be scared of doing it. Sometimes that has to be the case. Obviously, a lot of these teams are fairly young and inexperienced when it comes to playing in a team or communicating with each other. So I think we may well see some of the changes coming through. But don't blame one player on that front. You just have to take it as a team. Be like, okay, we could do better next time. Keep your heads up and be like, all right, how did these top teams win? What were they doing that we weren't? Have a look at it, review it, write it down, play scrims, practice it, grind it out, get better, get more like better sort of finger movement on your phone, and being able to actually play a little bit better. I think it really has to come down to looking at whatever happens now as a positive spin. You got to where you did, and it's time.
Here we go. Oh no! I thought it was going to be the points. Well, at least we know the dates and the times for when or the teams. So I guess we do know who the teams are for the top 6, right?
Yeah, look on the right side. So we have in number 1 spot, Stay Away, going to be coming in and taking first place in the play-in. CHR going to be coming in close behind in second. Bad Smile representing the whole of the EMEA region in the play-ins, coming in and making it into third spot. Overfear, not too far behind. Esports Original as well, and then Rebirth. Wow.
Yeah, wow, is it? I'm guessing that was right down to the wire for Rebirth, that they would have just been able to snuck into that 6th spot. But I tell you what, Tom, sometimes it's not always about the difference, it's making it. And that's what's been the opportunity for these 6 teams. They are advancing into the finals that will be played on Saturday, November the 28th. And here it is. There is the overall standings. What is the difference? 2 points! Oh no, VIP and Black Flag. They were so close, Tom, so close. Oh my goodness, from 3rd to 8th, there is a difference of what? 6 points? No, 8 points between them.
That is so painful to look. And I mean, VIP coming in with 28 kills in total. Wait, that can't. I don't believe that's quite right. Let me double check. No, okay, so it's actually meant to be in reverse. So via it's Black Flag, who are in 7th position with 28 kills in total. So they've managed to come in 7th position, and they were the 3rd highest killing team in the whole of the play-ins. Their actual, so the amount of points they got from rank was only 41, but they got 56 points from their kills. That's so impressive. Though, like any teams in the bottom 6, still like GG, well played. I think Lewis Thanos, Shift, you have some really big improvements you need to make. Elite and INV, you did really well to get 15 kills each and sort of get a decent amount of ranking points, like 40 and 32 respectively. And I mean, obviously Elite managed to get, or 222 Elite managed to get a kill. But I mean, just looking at this, like from 5th, like even 6th all the way up to 3rd, that's 4-point difference. That is so close.
And certainly, you've got to think that for Stay Away, who was able to get first position, it really came down to Game 5. They got a total of 37 points in Game 5 and then 46 in the last. So really had a big performance. 13 kills, got the booyah. So for Stay Away, it just took those last 2 games for them to really propel themselves. But I tell you what, like if you're looking at this as like an outside perspective, if you're a fan, that is how you want the last results to be. Down to the wire, anyone's game, anyone's chance. So little minimal points between 3rd and 8th place. I don't think I've seen anything like it.
It just goes to show that there's a consistent level of skill like within these teams, and that there was a lot of failures across every single team. There wasn't a team that played in this where they played 100% to their level, in my opinion. I think they could all do far better, and now they've got an opportunity to do that in the grand finals against some of the best teams in the world. So it's going to be very difficult for them to they have to review this footage, and they really have to be able to play better to be able to really improve and get through there. And we as a fan, I want to see these kind of results, and I just want to say, like, GG well played, and a lot of respect to Stay Away. They managed to get the only 2 booyahs in like two wins out the whole of today. That was the second and sixth game. So that is one hell of an achievement. I mean, well played to them. They managed to go ahead of CHR by 6 points.
What do you think about Stay Away? They got 2 booyahs, they got a 2nd place, they got a 12th place, and a 10th place. So we saw the best of the best from Stay Away, and some of some maybe not so much towards the lower end of things. But look, I tell you what, big performance coming out from Stay Away to grind it out in the end to get that first position. And now we've got our teams locked in for the finals next week. Tom, I tell you what, I'm really rooting for the teams in the play-in, because I reckon they can give the teams in the finals a good run for their money.
Yeah, I think like CHR, Stay Away, actually, you know, all of the teams, I think they have the opportunity. Just put in that work. You've got 7 days to review these videos, these sort of gameplays. Make sure you do that. Check out what you did wrong, what you did right, and you have every opportunity. And I mean, just keep in mind, the lowest someone's going to walk away with after next weekend is $10,000.
Yeah.
Highest amount is 80,000. Like, that is tremendous. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll just... What was it? I think the middle amount was, yeah, so 26k for 6th position. I mean, 3rd position. Like, that's absolutely crazy. And 4th position, sorry, 30k for 3rd position, 26 for 4th. Well, that's nuts. 10k for 11th and 12th, and it just goes up from there. So I think you have everything to play for. $300,000. It's such an impressive prize pool. It's set up so well as well. A lot of these teams deserve it. So at the end of the day, you get the prestige, you get the cash prize. You're going to be able to fuel yourself for until the next tournament. So Christmas is coming up as well. You'll be able to buy a few gifts for yourselves as well. But what an absolute pleasure to cast today with you, Drag.
Mate, it has been a fantastic day, but don't forget there is still one more to go. Check out the 28th of November. I think it starts from 5 p.m. CEST for the grand finals. Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure. It's been a great display to see these teams. So much thanks for my co-commentator, Tom Pickering. But that's going to be it from us. Make sure that you're tuning into the stream next week to watch all of the final teams play out for the money. So until then, see you next time.
See you guys.